Welcome to the Doxing Podcast. So what's your first pet's name? No, Sophia, how are you doing?
I am fantastic. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm looking forward to not having a crazy text exchange post podcast.
You don't know that we won't have that yet. And that's the fun in this, right?
I'm making a broad assumption.
You're correct.
You are vetted much better than a lot of other guests on this show.
Phew. Okay. All right. Good.
We have a lot of mutuals, and we've been following each other on social for a while, and I haven't seen any insane outbursts from you on Twitter, and that's generally the first red flag on someone who's gonna.
Yeah, I've heard directors look for that too when booking girls. Is that if you're a really hard partier or if you are a lot of drama on social media, they won't book you. I'm very hyper aware of my branding, and I also am just not drama.
Well, a little bit of drama is fine. A little.
I want to hear about other people's drama, like your text exchanges, but I.
Aw. Yeah, a little drama, a lot of partying is fine. As long as I'm okay with you being a partier, as long as I don't have to clean up after you.
There we go. No babysitting, right?
Right. I definitely had a guest not too long ago, lose their phone off my balcony, go puke.
Wow. Oh, this is a crazy podcast.
Oh, you did no research, huh?
It's a drinking podcast. I don't drink.
Yeah, plenty of people who do the show don't drink. It's not a requirement. Do you know how many people in the industry between comedy and porn I would not be able to have on? If you're required to drink to do the show, that'd be like, okay, cool. Half my guest list would just evaporate.
It would be gone. I feel like we talked about it at the convention that there's kind of either one extreme or the other. If we're looking at porn and comedy, is that either you drink a ton or you've already kind of gone down that road and now you are sober as fuck.
Yeah, I really hope I never get to that point because that's really going to ruin my branding.
Yeah, and now we drink tea.
At that point, we'll probably become, and now we do mushrooms.
Or just get worse. And now we do heroin. We're like, wait a second. This is a very boring podcast, first of all.
Well, I mean, it starts off really exciting as I try to get the vein. Just watch me try to especially because I'm afraid of intravenous needles.
Oh, okay. So it's like a fear factor / drug podcast.
So just watching me shake as I need my metas. I die on air.
Each one is only 5 minutes long because you kind of pass out in the middle of it.
Well, at that point, I'll hire a co-host to take care of me.
We shouldn't be business partners. I just decided this. We have horrible ideas on air.
Or amazing ones.
Or amazing.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I appreciate you getting me a Diet Coke and remembering that I don't drink.
Yeah. Stop breaking the kayfabe on the I'm an irresponsible drunk. God damn it. I'm going to be wait, he actually paid attention that,
He's responsible and a professional?
Shit.
I know I'm ruining it for you. I'm sorry.
That's it. You're not going on a t-shirt now.
Damn it. I just wanted a t-shirt.
Oh, fine. I'll make a t-shirt. I don't know. I'll figure out something by the end of this.
Well, if you look at my tweets, actually, no, never mind. You couldn't wear those t-shirts in public. So,
I mean, you can. Freedom of expression.
Okay. All right. Just titties. It's all titties.
They're not my titties. I don't think there's any laws against wearing other people's titties in public.
Really?
I mean, we could find out.
I'm curious now, actually. Is it considered?
Could you wear your own shirt over your own tits?
Oh my God, my own tits. I like that you're looking this up. This makes me very happy. Is it the indecency laws prohibit you from wearing something too graphic?
Yeah,
I'm going to make a shirt with my titties on it if it's allowed. Especially
According to the initial Google search, in the United States, there are no laws that govern the images that are printed in clothing. So you could literally print your own tits on a t-shirt and then wear it.
Or one of my orgies.
Probably.
Okay. It's promotion.
According to a cursory Google search, once again, everyone, I am not a lawyer.
He's an expert in this.
I wouldn't even go that far. I'm just willing to seed the world with bad ideas and just watch them run amok.
I love this. Yes.
Just like, oh, hey, there's Sophia's tits on Sophia's tits. Like,
it's very meta.
I don't know. You should do some like abstract art with your tits. So like there's 6 layers of tits.
It's like Picasso tits.
Well, Picasso.
Yeah.
Sophia Locke, Picasso.
Please don't let this be my legacy. Please.
I mean, it may be the caption on this episode.
Titcasso. That'll get people to click, I think.
That's the idea.
Yep.
As much as I'm enjoying having you hang out, I do want people to click.
Yes, of course. Me too.
Well, yes. Ideally, they generate some ad revenue for me and generate real money for you.
There we go. Yeah, I just want them to find me elsewhere where the fun stuff is.
Hell, even if they don't find you where the fun stuff is, if it's somewhere where they can spend money on you.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, if they just like Cash App you money without having to, consume your content, I'm sure that's okay. If it's not okay for her, I'll take it.
I actually don't really do. I feel very transactional about this work in that I think I was raised to be like a people pleaser and I have really extreme manners. So if someone gave me cash without any expectation, I would still feel obligated to do something. And I would say, at least let me send you a video, or just so I felt like things were fair. So it would bother me to take money for nothing, actually.
But what if they're like, I don't want a video. I just want you to be happy with this money.
I would be forever confused. It would haunt me.
I know how I'm going to make an impression.
Yeah.
The next convention, Matt, can I buy you a drink? No.
Yeah. No.
No. That's your money forever.
I can't deal. I can't.
You don't owe me anything for the Diet Coke, by the way.
Okay. All right. Phew.
I'm just going to put that out there.
Whew. All right. Yeah. I don't like it being out there and I feel like with sex work, it just has been, it's like, I don't like emotionally lead anybody on for money. I just want it to be, hey, I'm going to be a slut. You can watch me and you can buy my videos of me being a slut. And then there are enough people that want to do that. So it's great.
It's amazing how that works out.
It's fantastic.
It's like, I would like to be a slut for money. You would like to pay. Capitalism.
It's the best job I've ever had by far.
What's the worst?
I think being a server in my early 20s, I worked at a barbecue restaurant and I had server nightmares every night where I was getting sat an 8-top and a 6-top and I would just make drinks in my dream and be behind the entire night. It meant that job was too stressful for me at the time, that sucked.
I mean, it's probably too stressful for you now if you're still like traumatized by it to this day.
Well, I mean, I guess when I left the industry, I did real estate. And during that time, I also worked in fine dining and I wasn't stressed at all. And it was something about the fact that I was selling, $500,000 houses, a steak for $65 didn't seem like that big of a deal. So I think I got over that weird trauma of my early 20s.
Either that or you don't have to deal with people covered in barbecue sauce demanding things from you.
I did smell like barbecue sauce all of the time.
Well, I just imagine like fat Americans just covered in sauce. I need another lemonade. Honey, can you get me another lemonade?
Oh, God. We had strawberry lemonade. It was delicious.
Would you work at a Famous Dave's?
It was Lucille's barbecue.
Okay.
It was good. I mean, it was good food.
Lucille's is very good.
Solid. Yeah.
For a chain, it is very solid.
Yep. It was good, but it was a very stressful time for whatever reason.
Yeah, I'll eat at the Lucille's occasionally in Vegas when I'm there.
Oh, there's one in Vegas.
Yeah, well, in Henderson, but
yeah, nice.
It's like Green Valley Parkway.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, I just moved back to Vegas, so.
Where were you? Because I thought you were always Vegas based.
I was in Vegas, and then I moved to Seattle for 6 years, or that area, and then I moved to Austin, Texas. Was there for about 5 months, and then I just moved back to Vegas about a month and a half ago.
Okay, so you said you were doing both fine dining and real estate. Where were you doing which?
So I was doing real estate and then a little bit of the fine dining restaurant as I was trying to get that off the ground when I lived in Seattle, Washington.
Was it your restaurant or?
What do you mean?
Well, you like said you want to get that off the ground. Like,
When I was trying to get my real estate career.
oh, gotcha.
So it's like, I needed kind of a side hustle, a side job while I was doing real estate. Although I did wonder if anyone ever knew me from my porn stuff. So every time there was a new busboy, I would worry that maybe he'd recognize me from old shoots because I had left the industry. I had retired completely. And so I had just was buttoned up doing real estate, working that restaurant job and praying no one recognized me. They didn't until I left, actually. Someone did after that.
You sure they didn't know the whole time and then just kept it to themselves?
No, because it was like a younger kid and he was like 20s, right? And he messaged me and was like, "Oh, I was scrolling on Tumblr and I found some stuff of yours. Like, I didn't realize you were such a freak." And at the time I didn't want to be known for any of it. I wasn't back in the industry yet. So I just rolled my eyes and blocked him.
It's like, bro, it's a job. Like,
yeah. Yep.
Stallone has not murdered a lot of people or is a professional boxer. It's a job.
Well, I mean, I do love sex. There's a reason that I got into the industry, but then when I left, I didn't, I wanted to kind of leave it behind a little bit.
But there's a thing about loving sex and like what you portray as your character for the internet.
You say that, but my brand has always been really authentically me. I mean, maybe heightened a little bit, but I have a ton of energy. I'm really extroverted and I'm really slutty. So, and I'm not slutty with everyone, right?
Well,
I'm
yeah,
pretty particular.
But that's part of the character because I'm sure most dudes are paying for the fantasy of, oh, she'll be slutty with me.
Everyone wants to put themselves into it, but I just have I've never offered in-person services. I've always been kind of untouchable in that way. But I like the idea of everyone out there masturbating to me. Like I get a kick out of knowing that these shoots are going out to tens or hundreds of thousands of people. I would die to have my own fleshlight so that I knew people were using my vagina to masturbate to.
Is that how you end up in Austin? You're like, yo, fleshlight, I'm here. Let's do this.
Let's go. I actually followed a guy there. I tried to make things work with a guy in Austin and it just didn't. So I decided to move where there was more work.
Solid move.
Yeah, I think so.
I like Austin. I like it as a city. I don't want to live there.
It's great. And I really liked it. Really good food. Like a lot of people into fitness, everyone's out kind of working out. So it was cool, but it wasn't great for getting back in the industry and working.
I think there is at least one producer of note down there at this point.
Maybe one.
Yeah,
I don't know.
And he just moved from Florida to Austin.
Right. Yeah. There's almost nobody there. I would have to spend, a week in LA and hope that directors were shooting that week and that they'd want to use me.
Yeah. And plus, if you're shooting your own content down there of any way, shape, or form, you may get arrested for it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I guess maybe.
It's technically illegal.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much they enforce that. You'd be surprised, or at least I was surprised at how many creators were out there and open about it. It would be on their personal Instagram pages. Their OnlyFans would be linked to their real names and things, and people would just talk about it. So at least that was kind of refreshing to be around people, who accepted that you did it.
Well, and that's one of the few positives. Well, there are a bunch of positives from the OnlyFans revolution, and that is definitely one of them. That there are more people now that are like, would have never considered sex work.
Right.
And are just like, oh yeah, I do this under my real name. I'm not worried about being doxxed. Like,
right.
It's kind of like how tattoos, like, when I was coming up, like having a tattoo was like a sign of being an outlier. And now it's just like, who doesn't have at least a couple?
When they don't.
Yeah.
It's stranger than, and I loved that about being out of the industry, but hearing people talk about OnlyFans because it came up when I was out. And so that was really nice because it would just be, there was a girl at the restaurant that had one. And I was so excited. My little like sex worker heart was excited that people were talking about it and kind of normalizing it a little.
There's a lot of good that has come from OnlyFans. There's a lot of bad that's come from it too, but
sure. Yeah, of course. I mean, because anyone can be a content creator in quotes, a lot of predators, a lot of guys just looking to get laid that aren't being safe. There's so much less oversight when it comes to testing compared to the pro side of things. And I think that's caused some problems for sure.
That definitely has. The fact of the matter is because OnlyFans and, to a lesser extent, the free uploads to the hub aren't maintaining 2257 regulations properly. Right. Like the fact that like, oh, hey, if they're a verified model, we don't need another release from them. Like, but what if they don't consent to this scene? Like,
Right. Yeah.
or what if the federal government wants to audit my records, which they can legally do whenever they want?
Oh, geez. Yeah, and honestly, with testing too, at least when on a professional set, you have your agent telling you to get tested. You have the director ideally checking in the system when it was a part of the system that you were ready to go, and then ideally showing your test on set as well. So you had this kind of 3-tiered, hopefully someone catches it along the way system. And with OnlyFans, it's like, hey, like let's just fuck. And then nobody's checking, or hopefully they're checking, but there's no oversight.
Yeah, and it's kind of scary. It's absolutely kind of scary. I was joking for the one day it was AVN. It's like, hey, I specifically did not get tested. I'm not fucking anyone while I'm here. And like one girl I was, bullshitting with, she's like, well, I'm not tested either. I don't. I'm like,
Run away.
Yeah, like, well, I'm not particularly interested in the first place, but now I'm doubly not.
A lot of people, got tested because there was a moratorium for 7 days. They shut down all production to try and kind of clear things out. And then a lot of people didn't really shoot during it anyway because they were worried about it being kind of ground zero for some, chlamydia outbreak or something. So,
and I'm hearing some people got COVID already.
oh yeah, there's COVID too. We've got all the fun things.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, now they're doing swabs for oral, rectal, and then like vaginal chlamydia too. And so you can pass one to the other apparently. So people are being safer because they're checking more orifices. But it does mean that you're catching more things too. So it's a little scary out there.
It is. Do you know if they're swabbing male urethras as well?
I don't know. I'm not sure about that one.
Because if they are, I'm never getting a full panel test again.
I thought you were going to say that you were going to be first in line. You're
No.
urethral sounding?
No. I am old school enough. Like, I'm an old enough man that, like, back in the day, you had to get swabbed for chlamydia, gonorrhea.
Oh.
And it is not fun. Holy fuck, it is not fun.
See, I just thought the dry Q-tip in the ass was bad enough for that one.
I mean, I've never had that. I've never been penetrated anally, so like I don't have to worry about chlamydia in my asshole.
Never?
Never.
You have a prostate. We don't have one of those. You have something that feels good back there.
I also have, digestive issues. So
I'm learning so much about you right now.
like, buyer beware. You may get a little bit more than you bargained for.
So there is a guy in LA. I haven't done this, but apparently you can go to his house. He doesn't record it. You go in, you squat down, you shit on his face, and you leave. And he eats it. But it's $3,000. Look at you considering it.
Oh, no. I
see it.
On the podcast that will not be aired that I just did, I was talking to the guest. I'm like, yo, you offer me life-changing money, I'll be a sex worker. Like,
there you go. Yeah.
I just don't have the exhibitionism in me to want to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, well, at this point, like, it's a whole weird path because, I've been around since 2010, 2011.
Mm-hmm.
And back in those days, like, male talent only did studio work. Like, there was no real content trades. There was...
Right. Even when I was back in it in 2014, when I started doing the shoots there, you didn't shoot with men outside of a studio.
Right. And I don't think I could do that job.
It's a hard job.
Right. So I've never wanted to do the job. I don't think I could do the job. I got into this industry because I'm a film nerd and I wanted to make movies.
Interesting.
Like, if you look around the curtain, there's a wall of movies. Like,
okay.
And my audience has heard this a bunch of times, but back in Chicago, I didn't know anyone who made mainstream film. I ended up meeting a bunch of performers that worked for Burning Angel back in the day. There's like 7 girls that shot for BA, all based in Chicago at the time. And I ended up partying with a bunch of them at the same bar.
Nice.
Like my local bar, well, not my local, but the bar I hung out at all the time had a Burning Angel night on Tuesdays.
Perfect.
And like I ended up going from there to like providing security as a roadie and like PA work and shit like that. But it was all in like, oh, hey, I want to make film. And like, I don't know how to get into mainstream film, but obviously I have an into porn. So
sure.
So let me get into this and try to make something.
I didn't know that your type existed. I make a joke pretty often about how all these directors, none of them care about, like, it's not that they have a love for the cinema. It's all because they want to see hot naked chicks and they want to maybe fuck them POV too. But so you're an outlier, my friend.
I am. I also, besides writing a handful of scenes, have like not really created much film.
Okay. Even though that was your passion.
Yeah. Well, it was a very poorly directed passion because for years I never like. Maybe it was just my ego being larger than my actual skill. It's like, oh, I could fucking shoot this. Like I didn't like now that I actually know how to shoot things. I didn't know how to shoot things.
You didn't. Yeah. I mean, you don't know what you don't know, of course. Right.
Well, it was just like in my mind, I'm like, oh, I can just leave everything on automatic and it'll go. I think I shot one scene for Wood Rocket in like 2013.
Oh, I loved Wood Rocket so much.
Because my friends were doing Naked in Public.
Okay.
So they needed someone to hold the camera for the scene, and like I shot it for them. But like they did all the camera settings for me. They just hit record, keep it in frame.
Great.
Right. But like in my brain, I'm like, I know how to shoot porn.
I did it. Why isn't everybody hiring me now that I am a pornographer?
And now it's just like, oh, I actually do know how to shoot now. And it's like, oh, I didn't know shit.
There's a lot behind it. And I have, I have a nice camera. I should learn all of that. And it's just being behind the camera has almost no interest to me. I want to perform. And that's, I mean, I'll keep doing it until they're, I'm doing granny porn, I guess.
Well, obviously, we've already decided that we can make horrible ideas together. This sounds like a good match. I want to make stuff. You want to perform? There we go.
Perfect.
Yeah, like I bought a bunch of websites, like URLs that I never made use of.
Yeah.
Like I still to this day own quantumload.com.
Quantumload.com?
I wanted to make a Quantum Leap parody.
Fantastic.
Dr. Samantha Beckett writing hookups that once went wrong.
Okay.
Like, because my audience has heard this before, but one thing porn is missing, either parody or straight, is episodic television.
Yeah.
There's either features or gonzo shit. There's very little overarching episodic.
I think there's definitely a place for that. And I feel like there's so much more truly cinematic, well-acted things that are coming out now, which I feel like is more realistic and definitely something I'm looking to get into.
Well, and I think part of that is we're also seeing performers with longer careers now.
Yeah.
I mean, since I've been in, like almost all the people I worked with back in the day are out. Okay. And have been out for years.
Yeah.
So as you're seeing people in longer careers, there's more opportunity to make stuff that's episodic, make stuff that like has a legacy to it.
Right. And I remember being surprised because when I left the industry in 2016, I remember kind of convincing myself, well, I'm getting older, they probably won't want to see me after a while. I need something else with longevity. And then when I came back in at 37, 36, when I got back into the industry, it was all MILF stuff. So they did want to see me. And there were so many people that I had known way back when that were still in it and killing it. So you're right. That's especially with things like OnlyFans, there's kind of a market for everyone, even as you get older, even if you get pregnant, there's so many niche markets within it that pay.
I also recently found out like gilf porn is very big in Japan.
Fantastic. That's where I'll go.
Yeah.
When I get older.
When I was in Japan, I found out that like apparently 70 and 80-year-old women, because Japan's population is aging, is very popular.
Fantastic. I will say some of my favorite porn is like the Japanese bus groping porn. I'm super into it. Like I would love to go over there and do that kind of porn, but I don't know if they let like Westerners do it.
I'm pretty sure Melanie Marks was just doing stuff in Japan not too long ago. I've seen a bunch of stuff with Japanese kanji on her timeline and that looked like she was in Japan. So
okay. So that's encouraging. I'll have to get in touch with her and see how she did it.
Yeah, and I may be able to get you indirectly in contact with someone. Like, okay,
sweet. Porn is so much about who you know and just who you get in front of and who sees you. And yeah, I would love that.
it would be really weirdly indirect. So at time of recording on this Thursday, I'm dropping an episode with Jake Edelstein. I don't know if you know who that is. Mm-hmm. He's the author of Tokyo Vice.
Oh, cool.
He's an American expat that wrote for Japan's largest newspaper for 12 years, covering like crime and vice. Yeah. So he has a bunch of contacts in that world in Japan. And I got to have him on the show in the most random fashion possible.
Yeah.
While I was in Japan in December.
That's amazing.
So we actually talked a lot about like sex work and porn in Japan while he was on.
I bet that's fascinating too. I'm sure everybody else has heard it, but is it?
Oh, it drops this Thursday.
Oh, it drops this Thursday. So it's kind of a more like sexually repressed culture. Is that essentially?
Yes and no.
Okay.
So for full service sex work, everything is legal except vaginal penetration.
Interesting.
And pornography doesn't fall under prostitution laws like it does here.
Okay.
Like, it's just you have to blow the genitals. That is it. Otherwise, it's perfectly legal to make porn.
Sure. Okay.
On the flip side, during COVID, like when the government was handing out money, they weren't handing it out to any sex workers, even though it's perfectly legal to do.
And they technically were considered workers or contractors. Okay. Yeah.
If you are doing full service sex work and you break the law and have vaginal penetration, neither the worker nor the client can be charged. Only the brothel owner or a pimp can be charged.
Wow. Well, I mean, they're obviously doing vaginal penetration, right? Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, come on.
Yeah, like behind closed doors, yeah.
Yeah, sure. Everyone's like kind of winking at it.
Well, but anal's legal. It's just vaginal penetration.
That is it. Is it like a reproduction thing?
It's one of those things. Jake didn't really have a good explanation for it. He's like, there's two things that are true in Japan. This is how we've always done it, or it's never been done. That's how Japan works.
Okay.
So this is just how we've always done it.
Just tradition.
Yeah.
You don't fuck the pussy in Japan.
Well, if you're paying for it. No, if you're
paying for it.
If you're paying for it. You can definitely fuck the pussy. It's just pixelated.
Yeah.
From what I understand, what someone else anecdotally told me, I met a comedian who does subtitling for porn in Japan.
Oh, fun.
I guess that's how he makes his living.
Yeah. Another connection.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally forgot about that. But he's like, the pixelation exists because America put pressure on Japan when porn was actually illegal here.
Yeah.
To pixelate their pornography.
Oh, it's one of the most frustrating parts because I love so many different kinds of Japanese porn. Not necessarily like tentacle stuff or whatever, but I'm into a lot of it, and the pixelation definitely kills it for me, at least a little bit.
Definitely
brings down my girl boner.
Are you into Japanese girls, Japanese guys, both?
No, I've never fetishized any race. I have no, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's always about like the person.
Well, I don't think it's that fetishization if you're like, I like that.
Sure, but I mean, but it's not the race itself that has ever appealed to me about a person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's about usually the type of porn. So I find that in a lot of Japanese porn, it's very like female submissive, male dominant, or like male creepy, and I that's what I masturbate to. So, so it's more of that, and that's getting harder and harder to find in American porn because of the credit card rules and consent stuff. When it comes to like if the girl is like looking like, it's kind of tough for her, or, consensual non-consent, or sleeping, or, those kind of fetishes that I have.
Which some of the stuff that MasterCard implemented, like, I agree with. Like the mandatory IDs and 22.
Oh, absolutely. That I mean, reinforce the consent, have the video consent, have the 2257s. But if everyone's agreeing to it and we're all adults and there are no children or animals involved, then like, give me my porn.
Exactly. The only animal involved should be like disgusting dudes. But
I thought you were gonna say girls dressed up as cats, but I guess disgusting dudes is
no. I've seen that musical. It's traumatizing. I want no part of it. Nothing would kill my erection faster.
Ugh, like a furry musical, terribly written. Yeah,
I feel like we could do a porn parody of it and it would be done better.
Probably. I would die to do a musical porn parody. That would be I'm a musician. I sing. I did that in college. It's what I do otherwise. And I have been basically begging people to do a porn musical for me so I could be a Disney princess but sing about cock.
I'm pretty sure Leroy Myers did a couple of them while you were out.
Oh my gosh. He's so great too. I did like a Guardians of the Galaxy parody with him. I did a Mel Brooks photo shoot parody, and I was like Frankenstein's monster, and I had like the skull cat. It was not sexy, and it was so fucking hilarious. And the Strokemon Pokemon one, I was in that one too. But I loved their stuff. Just so funny and weird. It was great.
Steph and Leroy are the best. Like,
yeah.
It really bums me out that they moved to Vegas shortly before I left Vegas.
Oh shoot, you just missed them. They're not shooting anymore, are they?
I honestly don't know. I know Leroy went up to Canada during the pandemic. I don't know if he's come back. I know Seth is still in Vegas.
Oh, okay.
There was a small window last year where I almost moved back to Vegas.
Yeah, it's where all the cool people are,
Well, I was there for an opportunity that ended up not being so cool.
Oh, yikes.
Working for a mainstream musician, so.
Oh, it wasn't a cool opportunity?
Oh, it was until it wasn't.
Fair.
Like, there's a reason, like, I almost, dropped everything and moved to Vegas. And then it lasted about a month. And I was let go as I was driving back to LA to get more of my stuff.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm sorry to hear it.
I'm not, because it could have been a lot worse.
Right.
I was 48 hours away from signing my lease in Vegas when I got let go.
Wow.
And thankfully, I didn't give my notice on this spot until, like, I was more confident that it was going to go forward.
Okay, good.
So I'd given my 1 month on this spot, got let go, and, like, immediately hit my landlord, like, just kidding about that. Just kidding.
Yikes. Yeah. Well, I mean, at least there's so much of the industry in Vegas, but I mean, obviously LA has so much too.
For me, and, like, my beef with Vegas is, like, it's a rough town to meet people in, like, away from the industry.
Yeah.
And I also realized after living here, Vegas is America's wax museum.
How so?
Okay. So Vegas is the entertainment capital of the U.S., quote unquote, right? That's what they like to call themselves.
Yeah.
But you are not getting any, for the greater majority of entertainment in Vegas, you're not getting anything raw, experimental, or anything like that. You are getting distilled, perfected, polished entertainment, music, comedy, all of it is all, people are bringing their A game to Vegas.
And I love that, but you don't, it sounds like.
I want comedy. I want to see comedians try new material. I want to see them, possibly bomb. I want to see, not to shame them for bombing, but taking risks.
Sure.
I want people, like, it's just things like, there's ultimate jam night sometimes at the Whiskey. You never know who's going to just pop up on stage and start jamming out. Like, it's such a precise thing when people play Vegas.
Right.
There's never any, like, if you see someone's Vegas residency, if I see it on Tuesday and I see it on Wednesday, it's the same show.
It's the same. So there's no surprise there. There's nothing,
Right. It
spontaneous.
It doesn't feel like true art. It feels like, people are going through the motions for the paycheck for the art versus like, oh, hey, this band is warming up for their tour. They're going to play some small hole-in-the-wall venue in LA just to warm up before they go on tour. They may fuck up. They may, their friends may jump on stage with them. Or, oh, hey, Dave Chappelle's taking over the 80-seat room at the Comedy Store with no notice.
Yeah.
Like, it's just the difference in the type of entertainment you get.
Sure. I feel like the ideal is to be that polished and that skilled, like Cirque du Soleil, or you know what I mean, like that level of talent. And it takes so long to get there that it impresses me. But I understand what you're saying.
Oh no, it's definitely impressive, and I go to shows in Vegas. Like, don't get me wrong, but as my day-to-day, like what I want to be around, what I want to be inspired by, is I want to see the work in progress. I don't want to just see the finished product.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. This is a great place for that. I remember going to the Grove when I was younger. So I grew up in Long Beach, California. I remember going to the Grove and it was a karaoke thing and the people were incredible. And there was this one guy who came up and he was like Broadway incredible. And it just was something he did, on a Saturday night or whatever.
It's crazy, like the amount of just talent that's here.
Right.
And I think that's the other part of with art in Vegas is people either are well established or attach themselves onto already an established act.
Yeah.
One of the things as a working creator myself is like being surrounded by other people that are working towards succeeding in their own thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you probably interview a ton of people like that, I would imagine, right?
I try to.
Is that inspiring to be around?
It is. And it's also inspiring. Like, I moved here in 2014 from Vegas. And in that time, a lot of my friends have exponentially gotten more successful. Like, there were bartenders and servers and shit like that when I first met them. And like one of my buddies was a series regular on like a Netflix show. I mean, he's still tending bar, he's still having a hustle. Like he was on one season, but that's still so much more success than like growing up in the Midwest that like I could ever imagine.
Yeah.
Like,
it's inspiring to be around that.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, hey, I might be delusional with what I'm trying to do with my life, but at least I'm around people where like I could see that it's a possibility versus like growing up in the Midwest. It's like fame was something detached. It's something you saw on television. It's lifestyles rich and famous. It wasn't something that like anyone actually experiences.
Right, and Vegas is kind of that as well for you, right? So it's this peak level, no one normal can achieve it. You had to have had all of these things happen in exact, precise line for it to make sense. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense actually.
And also at the time when I was living there, all the industry folks that lived there were all like older performers established with families and stuff like that.
Right.
And I'm still a degenerate scumbag at times. Like
So self-aware.
I,
Good.
I know me. I'm almost 42 years old. I think I would hopefully figured it out at this point.
I'm glad.
But it's just like, oh, I want to go out and go get ignorant. Oh, your kids are at home. I get it. Like, I don't want you to come home sticking drunk to your children. Like,
Right, right. And Vegas is a dangerous place for that because I remember when I lived there before, I would leave a bar and it would be light outside and you wouldn't even know. You know, it'd be 6 o'clock in the morning. And now this time around, I'm, not drinking and sober. So it's a little bit more calm. Even without kids in the family, I'm still doing Vegas a little bit differently this time.
and the thing about it is, actually, Vegas was pretty calm for me because I'm not all that prone to drinking alone.
Yeah.
So, like, I want to go out and be social and stuff like that. It's like, oh, well, none of you can go out and be degenerates with me.
Right.
And I had problems meeting new people outside of the industry. Like, the time I was there, I was also traveling a lot for my day job at the time. So, like, I was in and out of town and, like, but it was just like, it just was never a great fit.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm glad. Well, I'm glad this seems to be a good fit for you.
Yeah, except for the drowning in debt and all that fun shit. But
I mean,
that's LA.
not that it's expensive to live in LA. What are you telling me? I had no idea. I considered, so I moved here from Austin, as we talked about, and I considered LA or Vegas because those are kind of the two main hubs for work. I mean, Florida is too, but I don't want to live there. So
You're way too fair skinned for Florida. Come on.
I would burn in a heartbeat. I'd just be like pouring sweat and burning. And so I did, I considered moving back to LA because I've lived in LA before. I've lived in the Valley. I grew up in Long Beach and it's so spread out and it's so expensive. And I really liked Vegas. So I don't mind making the drive. I'm doing it twice this week too, again.
Really?
Yeah, because I have a shoot here in LA. The next day I have a shoot in Vegas. The next day I have a shoot in LA. So I'm bookended, but I want the work. And so I'll drive.
Thankfully, it's not that bad of a drive, assuming that it's not flooding in the mountains.
Right, or it's not crazy traffic. I think it's midweek, so it shouldn't be too tough.
It shouldn't be too bad. For the audience, I decided to do one day at AVN, drove in. I left here at 5:45 in the morning, drove in, did AVN all day, and then drove home that night.
Oh my gosh.
I got home at 5 a.m.
Wow. Yeah, just get it done.
Yeah, I just got done. I stopped drinking like in the middle of the day.
There you go. Did you have fun?
It was a good time. Like, it's good catching up with people. Like, good seeing some people I haven't seen in years. It was also like reminding some people like, hey, I'm still alive, by the way. Like,
yeah, just getting in front of people. That was such a huge part. Or taking all these kind of Twitter mutuals that you had and then putting a face Twitter's felt warmer since I was done with AVN because you've met these people in person. They've seen you. It's like all of these kind of connections. It turns into work, honestly. Like, it gets you work.
oh yeah, I mean, that's why I was there. Like, that's why I was just like, I originally wasn't going to go. I started getting FOMO and I'm like, I need editing work. I need work. I probably should go remind some people live. And like, hell, I think we've followed each other for a while and like we've never actually met in person.
No, I would have had, you just would have been one other person that I follow.
Right.
Or like, another person with a podcast. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, I think it was the Suede stuff that we're.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool.
I mean, like, I was very much helping, like, last year, helping Suede raise a bunch of money. Like,
yeah, I never got super involved with that organization, but I love what they do. So I mean, I knew you from like the name of this podcast because it was such a unique name. And then I remember seeing it. I think we followed each other at that point and me thinking, well, that doesn't apply to me because I don't drink.
right.
So
Then I'm just like,
look at us now.
Yeah. You're like a quarter way through your Diet Coke.
I'm trying not to burp on air.
I mean, someone might be into it.
Then they better pay me. Wait, have you heard of cakefarts.com?
I have not.
Oh, they don't exist anymore, but it was such a beautiful moment in internet history. Check. You have to check for it, but it was beautiful women, beautifully shot, really bright, pretty white kind of colors or lighting. And then she would kind of dance in front of the camera and then she would spread her ass, sit in like a sheet cake. And then the camera would do a close up on her spread ass and she would fart and the cake icing would go like at the camera. It's one of the funniest fucking things I've ever seen. And I love that the entire site was just that.
Someone is camping the URL.
Damn it.
But Cake Farts with a Z is available.
Oh, thank God.
Hey, I bet that's only like $13. Could be yours.
I can't. I know someone who stopped doing fart porn because like putting the air up her ass so much was like fucking with her.
Wait, it's not naturally flatulence? Oh my God.
Oh my God, did I just give away the secret of the industry, of the fart porn industry?
They're going to cancel you over this.
You heard it here first, folks. I'm going to send you a text if you don't delete this one. You better put it on a t-shirt.
Right?
I don't care.
Put it on a t-shirt. How dare you out the fart porn community?
I know. I'm so sorry.
Actually, got to tell them penetration doesn't actually happen.
Oh, no. The penetration happens. That's for sure.
It does? Oh, my God.
I know. Your virgin ears. That's really tough. I get it.
I know. It's like we've talked about my virgin ears, my virgin asshole. Like,
yeah, you have a lot of virgin parts.
My ears are safe too. Like,
okay. You've never been ear fucked.
I've never been ear fucked.
I feel like I was as a joke once because I made that joke of never having done it. And so I think someone put their penis in my ear, but I can't remember, which is a weird thing to say.
I don't think they could get too far. Hopefully they couldn't get too far in.
No, that's dangerous. Okay, so I had a girlfriend of mine. She did webcamming for years, and she had a guy who was into Q-tips. Speaking of putting things in your ear, so he would have her Q-tip her ears fully closed on camera, and he would pay her per minute. And then he came back another time and said, "Well, will you put it in a little deeper so it kind of hurts?" And she said yes. She faked it, obviously, because that is dangerous. And then he came back again and asked her for a custom video, which she did for $500. She had her partner at the time tie her to a chair and then Q-tip her to death, and she bought fake blood, and she said it was the most fun she's ever had. And this guy got his custom video. Everything was consensual, and he got his Q-tip fetish fulfilled.
See, that sort of shit, like, I'm not here to kink shame anybody, but like, how do you discover that that's what you're into?
I love it. I think it's fascinating. Sometime during puberty, he was like Q-tipping his ear and something just clicked maybe. Who knows? I mean, I've been into BDSM for as long as I can remember, and I don't know where it came from. I have no trauma. I have no moment, but I remember watching like Disney movies and the princess got tied up and feeling like, oh, I want that to happen to me. Even before I was like sexually mature, I wanted that. So it fascinates me to learn about people's kinks, especially if they're really, really specific.
Because that is a very specific one. Well, and the thing about it is like, it kind of is mind-boggling because it's like I couldn't imagine that comes from Q-tipping his own ear, because he could just do essentially that masturbation at home, right? Like, who did he see like Q-tip themselves that like it turned him on? Well,
and obviously part of it is that it's something that's painful for the other person. So maybe he saw someone kind of go, oh, ow, and that turned him on, or maybe he was Q-tipping someone's ear and it went too far, and then he had some sort of a moment sexually. I don't know. But I love it.
Yeah, that's wild, because like I wouldn't ever think to be like, hey babe, let me Q-tip you.
And what's really nice about things like camming or custom videos and things like that is that you can't search that on Pornhub and get a bunch of videos. It's just too specific and unique. So it is kind of nice that there is this service out there where you can pay somebody who isn't going to judge you, at least to your face, about what
just on podcasts.
I'm not judging it.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, like
kidding.
We love you, Q-tip guy, wherever you are.
Come back, spend more money. It's been some inflation. It's 1,000 now.
Yeah, but my friend Ginger Meadows is her name. She just, it was moments like that where she said, this is why she does this job, because no day is the same as the one before. It's not just masturbation. It's, the cheese slice guy who needs the American Singles cheese slices all over girls' naked bodies. He was infamous in the cam community.
I judge that guy for his taste in cheese.
Me too. At least Gouda. Come on.
No, Brie. It's a nice creamy. Oh,
you're a genius. That was great. Yes.
See, it's on camera. She said it.
I did. There's proof. Or the guy that wanted women to cover themselves in marshmallow fluff, but like their faces, their hair, it was like a tarp deal. Like it was way too much work. I never did it.
It sounds like that dude fantasized about shooting massive loads.
Maybe, yeah.
Look at her. I smothered her in my load.
I actually, I've known about that guy for probably 10 years, and that has never occurred to me. So you're helping me out here.
This is what I'm here to do. I have ideas. I don't always execute on them, but I have ideas.
This is fantastic. Yes. Thank you for seeing into the mind of Marshmallow.
Of weird perverts. Yes. Not weird perverts, just perverts. Not
perverts.
Perverts.
I've got weird shit too. We all do.
Speaking of which, I had someone slide into my DMs asking me for a custom.
What did they ask for?
They just wanted me to suck on someone's tits.
Oh.
That's it.
Interesting. Was it a specific someone or?
No, I'm like, who do you want? And they're like, oh, I just want to see you suck on someone's tits. And I'm like, I currently have them left on red because I just don't know what to do about it. Because like, I'm not a sex worker.
Yeah.
I've never wanted. It's like, it feels weird to like ask one of my friends like, hey, I know this is not what I do, but do you want to help me out here? Like dipping my toe. It's a weird.
Would it bother you to have your face in something like that?
No.
Okay.
I have an AVN for best non-sex performance. Well, nomination.
Okay.
I didn't win, but
you were robbed.
I was. I mean, I absolutely was. My roommate at the time voted on the AVNs, and I still didn't win.
You had the one vote to win. Terrible.
Like, if you think they're rigged, I don't know. One of the persons that voted on the awards that year lived with me. Another person was on the podcast. Like, I had multiple people from the voting board in my direct influence. I did not win.
There you go. Oh, crazy.
But yeah, look, I've been in front of camera like in non-sex roles multiple times.
Yeah, so that part wouldn't bother you.
No. And that's been a weird thing for me in modern era. It's like, I have no moral qualms about being a performer at this point, but it's been a decade plus of being like, no, that's not what I do.
Sure.
So why would I start saying yes now?
Or why not say yes now?
That's the.
Oh, this is interesting.
But it's also like, I don't want like, just be like, hi friend, I know this isn't what I normally do, but can I just suck on your tits for us getting paid?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It is a really strange thing, especially now that people are doing kind of their own content with other people. It's not just you in front of a camera in your room or a professional studio where they're pairing you with somebody.
Right.
And you just kind of show up and you're like, I guess I'm having sex with you today. It's touchy, right? Because I'll get DMs from content creators, specifically male content creators. And I get that what you're asking is for us to have sex. I understand that. But if you do it that way, or if you're kind of super sexual about it, then it comes off as really unprofessional.
Right.
So you do have to have this kind of weird interaction of like, hello, madam, would you like to work with me on a collaboration? And
but it adds in the additional layer to me is like, that's not what I do.
Right. Yes. I was just going on a tangent.
I I totally appreciate it. Like, it's a weird, like, at least I feel with other professionals, like if like you're a studio male talent and like you're doing your own content, I feel like that comes across a little better potentially, hopefully.
Yeah, you mean if somebody actually does do content and like
Yeah.
studio? Yeah, absolutely.
Like, oh, hey, I've seen you work for Evil Angel. I've seen you work for oh, you're doing your own site. Okay, it's okay that you're reaching out.
Right. And there's a little bit more credibility there too. It's showing that you know your angles, that you could be professional on a set, that that you're not going to be kind of sleazy outside of it, hopefully.
Right.
But yeah, that's why I think a lot of women ask for references at this point too of, show me other people you've worked with that I can talk to see that you're actually safe to shoot with.
And that's how it should be.
I think so too. Absolutely.
Because there's not a whole crew there with you. Because on the studio side, if like your talent and your co-stars being weird, someone's gonna do something about it.
And nobody is anymore. I heard, I was out of the industry for this, but when MeToo happened, apparently on sets, that really tightened things up to the point where it's almost sweet or almost overcorrected because people are so concerned about my comfort. And I came from the kink world, so I'm used to being like tied up to the ceiling and hit with shit. And someone's like, "Are you okay sitting on this couch? Are you sure you're comfortable?" I'm fine, thank you. So I mean, I'd rather the overcorrection than people not care or feel uncomfortable. And I know that it went that direction really strongly after that movement.
Oh, it really did. Like when I started PAing, there was no like consent list as part of your, like there was no pre-interview. And the companies that did post interviews, a lot of them were suspect. I had girls being like, yeah, I had to do a post interview, but I felt like I wasn't getting my check unless I said what they wanted me to hear.
Right. Or I would never get hired again, or they would say something about me. And I came from mostly working with kink.com, who had that from the beginning, or at least when I started shooting for them. So for me, it doesn't feel that different, but it sounds like the other companies really instituted these consent policies.
They did. Like the fact that like on your 2257 paperwork on some of the companies I worked with, like your yeses and nos are in writing on.
Right. Or I've shot for some companies in Florida. I think it was Reality Kings, who they want the entire talk about the yeses and nos on camera. And with your co-performer and you're having this conversation, they want it recorded.
Yeah. That's all of Mind Geeks.
Oh my, yeah, everybody. Yeah.
Because I was working for Mind Geek last summer, and like I think it was Reality Kings and Trans Angels were like the two brands that we were shooting under. And like, yeah, every day was the director would sit the intimacy coordinator type job, or the director would sit them down and like, camera, you two hash it out.
Yeah, and you're right, the intimacy coordinator, there was a female on set that they mentioned a couple times. If you need to talk to somebody, this woman is here for you for that, which I think is kind of cool. I think a lot of people outside of the industry don't know that those sorts of things exist. And they exist because there were problems.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, but at least we're here at this point, right?
Right. We've evolved. We've made it. It's definitely a good thing, but it was like I hadn't worked on a set in a couple of years at one point, and came back on set and like as the PA, I'm like, oh, here's your 22 some paperwork, and then the director's like, did you get them set up to do? I'm like, the what?
Mm-hmm.
I got their bunny ears and I got their paperwork.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Also this. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Oh, I had another thing about that and I totally forgot it. And I'm not even drinking.
But you're drinking Diet Coke. All the chemicals are going to your brain.
I guess so. Maybe I'm tired from AVN week. Jeez.
You're not bringing the Rona in here, are you?
No, I hope not. And that was the thing I was going to say, was that there are some companies too that will print out your testing results. You have to like log in and they'll print them out and then you'll sign them too, which I like. I thought that was kind of cool too. So it's just these extra layers.
From a company standpoint, honestly, they probably should have been doing it the whole time because it covers their ass.
Oh, 100%. I understand it's liability for them. It's not necessarily concern ethically for anything else.
Oh, yeah.
Which is fine. That's whatever the reason is. I like that they're doing it. And I like that there's that.
It got the results done. Like,
it's true. Yeah, absolutely. As long as whatever makes the performer safer and makes, you feel more comfortable going to work, I think is great.
No, and you're going to get a better performance out of everybody involved if they're comfortable and happy to be there.
Yeah, exactly. That's such a huge part of it. And I do hear about that there are a lot of performers that are just kind of like in it to make money and get out, which that's fine. Make your money, but it does make me happy that just enjoying the sex part of it, or enjoying the exhibitionism, or that there is a crew there. Like I've always really liked that part.
You're more into like the crew intently watching your scenes, and
well, no crew intently watches your scene because
very true.
They've seen it all. You'll kind of glance up and see somebody texting as you're getting fucked really hard. But just the idea that there are people there, I like that, and the whole production of it is really fun for me. And just the day of it, the doing dialogue, the figuring out outfits, all of it's really fun to kind of just play.
Get to play dress up for work.
Yeah, exactly. You dress up like a slut for work, and then you have sex for a living. It's amazing.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Even when it's like a harder day, these VR shoots are really technical, really difficult with positions, and you have to be kind of careful. But still, I just want to make a good product, right? That like someone will watch and be excited about. Like that part is motivating for me when the other generally exciting stuff is maybe not as exciting, or you're doing the same position for 20 minutes, stuff like that.
Like any time now, are we going to switch like?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's always longer than you think. It's like 8 in each position. And you're like, 8 minutes is a really long time. I had one co-performer who put his iPhone to the side and had a timer, which was so smart. I haven't seen it since.
Was this on a set, or is this on like for content?
Oh, a set. No, content. We never time anything. Content's great because you just get like 20 minutes of like, hey, let's just fuck. And then people like that kind of raw. It isn't super produced. I think that's what sells.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I end up editing people's content like
Oh yeah.
I'm pretty sure my audience has heard me bitch about this a couple times, but like one of my clients sent me like a 3 iPhone camera, threesome, and on one of the parts of it, it was just like one angle was just completely unusable. The other 2 angles was thigh, or the third angle was flat white male talent ass.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, what do you want me to do with this?
How do you sell that? I mean, there has to be some awareness, and that's the difference between, you just having sex for fun and it being filmed, or because there's some part of you, or there should be some part in the back of your head that goes, where's the lighting? Where is the camera? What am I opening up to? Like, you do have to think about those things.
Well, and all 3 of these people are professionals. Like, they're
What?
Yeah.
Really? That is very surprising.
Oh, I was very surprised by it too.
Yeah.
I was like, the fuck is happening here?
Then just fuck with the cameras off. Like, you're not gonna be able to sell that. You might as well just enjoy yourself.
I just trimmed that part and like,
Really?
yeah, I just cut, like, I just did like a cross dissolve to like something else. Like, that whole sequence just goes away.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like a 25-minute shoot, so I was just like, the 3 minutes of just bad pussy eating was just what.
Okay, yeah, just take it out.
That's my job as an editor.
There we go.
It was just like, that is some flat white male talent ass. Like, cool.
That's never a good angle. No one really wants to see that.
No, just head, back of his
I
back
don't
of his
think
head.
gay viewers want to see it. Not if it's.
I don't know. Part of me is like, oh, if I really wanted to embrace sex work, I'm sure that's where I would be selling. I should really do some market research if I ever wanted to get into it. But
Yeah. If it's not your passion, it's not your passion. It's for some reason, it like the whole thing is my passion. So just being back in it's great.
when did you discover it was your passion?
Well, I grew up with like the idea that people who did porn were either like victims or vapid or dumb or
Whoa, that's not true.
What? Oh my God. Love it. So I can tell I grew up in Southern California. So it was really surprising once getting into kind of the webcam community how many people were very normal. And I was always very hypersexual. I think I have high testosterone. I've never had it checked, but like my sex drive, I feel like I'm like a 14-year-old boy inside of a 37-year-old woman's body.
Aren't women supposed to peak around this age?
I guess so, but I've always kind of been this way.
Has it gotten worse?
I mean, or better, depending on your perspective. I
Having been a 14-year-old boy, I didn't get much done.
Well, I don't know if it's worse. I feel much more calm and confident in my sexuality now than I ever did before. I feel like I'm very much in control of my body and my life and who I fuck. And before it was just kind of this chaotic instant gratification thing mess for my 20s.
See, that you're definitely not a 14-year-old boy now then.
No.
14-year-old boy is like, oh, huh? The sex could happen? Oh yeah, it's on. Yeah, it's like
right.
That pillow looked at me funny. I'm gonna fuck it.
Well, I was always relatively discerning, right? So I was even though I had a lot of sex, I was picky about who I had sex with. It wasn't a way to escape. It wasn't a way to get validation. It was just because I liked fucking, and I like the adrenaline rush of sex, right? Especially on a set because you were strangers likely with this person 10 minutes ago, and now you have their cock in your hand and you know that they are probably a good performer, they probably have a good dick, and it's all being filmed, so all of that just makes it really exciting, I think. And it's different than if it were just some random guy in a hotel room somewhere that just showed up. That's not sexy to me for whatever reason. So
I could imagine that there's a lot of variables to make that not sexy.
Right, exactly. It's pretty quick to get the ick. But within this industry and with professionals, or like all of these beautiful women who do content creation, it's a really exciting thing. And I guess I've just always been hypersexual. I had a 7-guy Brazilian gangbang in my early 20s before I was ever even in the industry.
What makes it a Brazilian gangbang?
Well, so I'll tell you the story. I was working at that restaurant, Lucille's, and there was a girl who worked there who was this beautiful Brazilian woman, and it was her birthday. So she and her husband had a bunch of their friends from Brazil come out to party with them. And I went to the bar with all of them, connected with one of the guys who was really funny and kind of interesting. We all went back to her house. She and her husband went to sleep, and that guy and I went up into the loft. He threw a condom on the bed, and I was down. I think I was like 22 at the time. I didn't get into sex work until 25. And so I decided I absolutely wanted to have sex with him. Obviously, we were being safe about it. And then one of the other Brazilian guys walked up into the loft. And I looked at him and I looked at the other guy and I went, okay, I've never done this before, but I've always wanted to. Like multiple men is a fantasy of mine. And I feel good about this. They were both hot, you know? And so I said, okay, all right, let's go. Come on in, right? And then another one. It was like a clown car of Brazilian men, just like up the stairs, up the stairs, up the stairs. And just, they all were so respectful. They were so sweet to me and just couldn't believe it was happening. And, oh, you're so beautiful. And this is so great. And it was just this overwhelmingly positive, consensual, safe experience that it was really wonderful. And it was, 7 Brazilian guys. It's still the most I've had at once with men.
So what was the aftermath? Like after everyone finished, how did that break down?
So I don't really remember that part. What I do remember is, because I mean, it was so many years ago now, but what I do remember is I hooked up with 2 of them after, right? Separately. And one of them, I went to his house and you could see like pictures of his girlfriend everywhere. And I went, oh, this isn't very hot. And then the one I had originally connected with, he and I hooked up and he stealthed me. He took the condom off.
Oh.
So I yelled at him, which I don't get angry very often.
Yeah, but that's something to get angry about.
I was really upset. Because I was like, I trusted you with this really kind of crazy experience. And then when we're alone, you're going to try something on me after we talked about how important, testing and.
Well, and just on top of it, the fact that like he threw the condom down in the first place before it became like a gangbang.
Right. Yeah.
Like he didn't even like do the normal dude trick. Like, oh, we don't need that.
Right. And I was always really, really particular about protection.
And not that justifies it. It just makes it a weirder situation.
Well, I wasn't expecting it. So it was so sneaky. It was done while he was in doggy and I like caught him. I like turned around and was like, where did it go? And he's like, oh, oops. So anyway, that kind of soured it a little bit, but the actual gangbang itself was fantastic.
I have never been involved in anything like that. So it's just the idea of like, after everyone's like done this like good game, like is it like 2 baseball teams like shake hands in the middle of the field and go their separate ways?
Everyone pats each other's asses as they walk out.
Yeah. Because it's like, I understand how that ends on a set, like when someone calls cut. As like an all natural one, it's like that. It seems like it would be a different ending, like especially if like these dudes had not seen each other's cocks, or the fact that like 7 dudes that are all friends with each other were able to get it up and keep it up.
True, that's a really good point. It wasn't even something, because I hadn't been in porn, so it wasn't something I was even considering. It just went well. It was like naturally great.
Yeah, because like there's a lot of room for failure there.
Tons. And I've seen that on sets where it's like once you start introducing multiple men, people get in their heads a little bit. They get a little competitive, friendly competitive too. I've heard about guys, being in a swap scene and the one guy will pick up the girl. And so the other one's like, well, I'll pick up this one. They get a little bit competitive. So
yeah, that's just a wild experience. And
yeah, it was great. And so just my kind of journey in sex work has been a lot of fantasy fulfillment within a professional, safe environment. It's especially with the kink stuff. I've done crazy, like waterboarding and hit with a 2x4 and used a cattle prod. Like I've done all these crazy things that I would have never done in just a normal setting. But since I felt safe with the director and safe with the other performers, like it was just such a fun thing to just see how far I can take something.
How much of that has come into your real life, into your real sex life?
So for a long time, I was super into BDSM in my personal life, and it was fine. I think now that I've tried most everything, it doesn't excite me in the same way. It's more fun for me to introduce other people to it. So I like a lot of adrenaline. I like really aggressive, rough sex. And so when you have that kind of connection with somebody, for work or otherwise, it's really exciting, but I don't need to be like hit with a bunch of shit anymore, or, you know what I mean?
It doesn't have to look like an extreme wrestling match when you're done.
It doesn't. And I can't get marked for shoots. Like if you show up for a shoot and you're all bruised or whatever, like they'll send you home. So it's honestly, as I get older, it's harder and harder to find men who can dominate me. So I end up on these sets as a MILF with 20-year-olds, which is very funny to me because they're so young looking and I have to kind of get past that in my head a little bit. So there aren't a lot of people dominating me in sex or in kind of like my personal life. So when I get it, it's cool and it's fun. but it just doesn't hold the same thrill as it used to because everything was new.
So are you kind of bored in your personal sex life?
No, I'm being really careful. I'm not like having sex outside of the industry right now. So I'm like,
Why not?
I'm kind of recently single
Well, that's a good reason.
as of 3 months ago or so. And I don't want to deal with men outside of the industry because if I have male performer friends, I know they're great at sex. I know we have a good connection. I can just kind of like bang it out and not have to worry about, whether they're going to push back on protection, whether they're going to be weird or creepy about my industry. I don't have to worry about testing, all of those kind of things. And I don't want to date. I have no interest in that. So it just seems like my personal sex life is great and I can have sex when I want it. But I just stick with the performers in the industry.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. It's an interesting thing because I talk to a lot of performers where they do want to date, and it can be potentially a lonely place to be a performer.
Yeah.
And you're just like, no, fuck that. I'm getting the best of it. And
well, I've now been in 3 separate relationships while in the industry at certain times, and 2 of them there were issues because of performing. Right? I left the industry because the guy I was with was kind of uncomfortable, and I could feel it. So that already didn't work out. I dated another guy who was a performer, but just like independent sometimes. And then the fact that I did so much work kind of reminded him that he wasn't doing as much. So that's hard too, And so no matter what, if you're in this industry specifically too, it complicates things when you're in a relationship. And so I just don't, at this point, want the complications. I don't want to be held back when I have the second chance at a career that I thought I would never have again.
And it sucks that like someone made you choose them or your career in the first place.
Well, to his credit, he never did. He never asked me to leave. It was just me doing less and less because I was worried about him being uncomfortable. And so I have now adjusted in my life to the point where like I won't do less because of someone else's comfort. Because
you shouldn't.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm feeling great.
Well, it's what I say to people like when they were talking about wanting to date performers all the time is like, if you met someone and they're a performer when you met them, you have no right whatsoever to try to change that.
It all seems like so much fun until you catch feelings. And then there's so much jealousy and there's so many kind of weird boundary things. And there's a lot of trust involved. There's a lot of communication that has to happen. It's complicated.
Well, yeah, but there should be trust and communication in any fucking relationship.
Absolutely. I mean, but you're adding in, and I think it's really hard, especially for men to understand that, especially as women, when you work in pro stuff, you're not picking your scene partner. You're going home at the end of the day. The only part that's actual sex is 45 minutes at the end of a 6-hour day, And so,
and it's not sexy. Like a lot of times it is not sexy.
Yeah. You want it to be, but it does feel like work and it is sex and it is a connection that you're having with another person, but it's like a fun high five bro kind of connection. And so I think a lot of men are like, well, if you're getting to have sex, then I should be able to get to have sex. And it's not that we're getting to have sex. I'm not finding like the hot guy at the bar.
Right.
And banging it out alone in a room where I don't have to think about my angles. It is a job.
Well, the way I often play it to people is like, would you be upset if your partner went and got a massage?
Yeah.
Well, no. Why would it? Well, like, then why do you care that they're having sex with someone else on film? Like,
yeah,
yes, there is some physical gratification to it, but it's about as meaningful as that massage is.
Right. And I still think it's really wonderful to have like, and it's harder sometimes on pro sets because, you're not doing missionary like with your faces together. You're doing it with the guy kind of farther away, but you are having this fun connection. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. I think it just maybe feels threatening to some people, which is fine. And then don't date a performer.
Agreed. My thought is, it's like, they're coming home to me at the end of the day. Like,
yeah. And for me, because I don't get emotionally attached through sex. I get emotionally attached through other forms of intimacy. Those are the things that matter, right? It's the cuddling, it's the hand holding, it's the going through hard times together, it's meeting each other's families, it's working through relationship problems. That's true intimacy. Like a penis in my vagina is just like a day at work.
Well, and
fun, but
And it's like, especially for most guys, it's like, your penis has definitely been in some people that you gave 0 fucks about.
Right. Exactly.
Like, I definitely have had sex with people that I could not recall their names to save my life. You could put a gun to my head and be like, I fucked that person? Like, and I've never been a performer. Like,
yeah, it was like an AVN week. We were on the expo floor and I would be like, God, that guy looks familiar. And then I would see his name tag and go, oh my God, I fucked him. Like, because it's that many people which is hot to me because I like being a slut. But it doesn't make them like less of a valuable person or me less of a valuable person. It just means that like our connection was kind of fleeting and it was work related.
Right.
It's fine.
It was like, this is my coworker. Like,
I'm sure it was great.
yeah, we don't stare at a cubicle. Like we met in an office meeting once. Like we basically, we're at an office party once and like, met each other. Like that's
right, or it's like we worked on a project together or
right.
something for a day. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And everyone's different and it's cool to experience other people. I think that's fine, but that's not what true intimacy is.
No, it really shouldn't be. And like, you're in the wrong industry if you get intimately connected via sex. Like,
right.
Like, this isn't the place for you.
Yeah, there's I actually did a TikTok on it, and it was a story that I heard from a male performer where he met her on set, they had sex, and she burst into tears at the end of it. And he was so concerned. And, did I say something? Did I do something? And she said through tears, I like you so much. This sweet baby angel just got dicked down so good that, well, she's in the wrong industry, right?
But she also may have had a crush on him before they ever worked together. She
sure,
may have been
maybe.
Who knows?
But this is not the place for, bless her heart. But there are so many people, I think, who don't understand sex work because they have that, whatever that is, that hormone release that bonds you to somebody after sex. And so they can't understand that I've heard people say like, oh, like people in porn aren't all in love with each other. Like, no, no, but we're buddies. Like we're cool.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, I definitely know some people that are like kind of neutral with some of their, like they're not on the no list, but it's just like, they're there.
That's how like a lot of where I'm like, oh, that's cool. That's a cool person. Like, sure, I'd work with them.
Yeah, but it's not like you're like, we're not going to Chili's after this to go get a meal.
Right. Or like maybe I wouldn't fuck them off camera, like in my personal life. You know what I mean? Like, but like that was cool. And like you did your job well. And I feel like I did my job well. And we connected nicely and we did a good scene. And I think that's that's pretty nice.
Yeah. Good game.
Good game, coach. Slap the butts.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, and maybe I'm just an outlier, but just like, I feel like almost every dude has hooked up with one or multiple people over the course of their adult life where it fucking meant nothing. And just,
yeah,
like the fact that there's that disconnect and they can't wrap their brain around like, oh, hey, the other human being you're involved with can do the same thing.
Or that women can do it.
The other person you're involved with is.
Well, yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, and that's, I would assume the majority of the women in the adult industry is that we can have this connection and it might be fun or it might not be fun for some women. I assume some are just there to grab a paycheck and, and do a performance and leave.
But that's every job on the planet. There's
that too. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, in any job, there are people that are, well, some jobs I'm sure there's no one's passionate about it, but like most jobs, I'd hope that there's some people that are there because this is what they're passionate about. Like, this is what they want to do with their lives. And then there's some people like, I just want a fucking paycheck.
Yeah.
And that's every fucking job.
That's a really good point. I think people get really offended by that when women are that way. And I think it would be kind of hard to show up on a set and have somebody just completely cut off from you because you have to do this intimate act. I think that's where the issue is that if someone's treating you that way as like another human and you're just kind of like a number in a machine to them, which I have to give credit a lot. I think every director I've worked with has treated me like with respect and as a human. and I think that's hard to do when you're shooting multiple scenes a day and you're doing the same thing day in and day out. And so I give a lot of credit to the people that make me feel comfortable because it's very easy to be like, okay, go through the motions, touch the dick, do this, thank you, get out, and they don't.
I feel like any director who was like that isn't going to last any lifetime because
hopefully, yeah.
At some point, people aren't going to want to work with them.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't want to be, it is a job and you can walk away from it being like, that was cool, high five. But you also, you want some respect too, just to be treated like.
Like a person? Oh my God. Oh. Yeah. Oh my God. There are people on these sets?
Exactly.
Not just masturbatory fantasies come to life?
Exactly. I can be that too a little bit, but.
Well, yeah, that's fun to play make-believe. Yeah.
Exactly. It's the same thing as the BDSM thing. It's like, oh, I want to be submissive, but I don't want you to actually see me as less than.
Right. Like.
It's all a fantasy.
We're going to play a game. This is going to be fun.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, I'm going to, touch you nicely and be like, are you okay?
Yeah.
Not just spit on you and be like, Get yourself out of your bonds. Have a good life.
Exactly. And I feel like so much of the industry is just so genuinely caring about people's comfort, especially women's comfort. So it's nice.
That is one of the nice things about the industry is like, this is one of the few industries where like women really do call a lot of the shots.
Oh yeah.
As a dude, you could find yourself completely out of work real fast if you're a piece of shit.
That, and when you're on set, I feel like the woman kind of dictates how touchy things are outside of the on-camera stuff too, because people have different relationship rules. I've felt it when a guy probably is in a relationship where they don't allow things. So I know that, but typically I feel like if the woman is extra touchy, then that gives the guy permission to be touchy. And there are some, now that I'm single, there are definitely more sets where like I'm touchier off camera, but it's the woman dictates it. You can tell.
Oh yeah.
Because the guy will get in trouble if he does, if he's too touchy or aggressive off camera.
Yeah. He will at bare minimum end up on a bunch of no lists. And like, this has been a topic here plenty of times, is this is fucking the 13th grade. Everyone fucking talks. Everyone gossips. And if you're like, oh, that dude was weird, everyone will talk about it.
Especially the women. All of the women I run into, like in LA in particular too, like there's a model house that we stay at. Everyone talks about the people that they've shot with. And they'll say, oh, this guy is this way, or this set was this way. And if something happens on one set, it spreads like wildfire. It is a tiny community. So if you aren't professional, or if you disrespect somebody, or if you're kind of shitty about something off camera, like everyone will know.
Yeah. Yeah. And as the female side, all you really have to worry about is offending directors.
Right, exactly. Well, or being just really difficult to work with. It's why, I mean, honestly, my sobriety has been such a blessing in this. Not that before I ever showed up to work hungover or anything like that, but it is really nice not to have to worry about it. And if you're just punctual and professional and excited to be there, that's already like 80% of the work.
Just remotely polite to the crew. Like,
oh God, of course. That's always interesting too. I feel like that's really telling if someone has an ego with, the people that are helping them out. I'm always, it's such a treat to be like, oh, I just get baby wipes whenever I need them. This is so nice.
like, what kind of lube do I get? Like, I get to choose my lube. Ooh.
It's such a fun thing. And I feel like there's so many women who enter the industry now at like 18 or so who haven't had a job before. And the idea that you could be making $1,000 in 4 hours is absurd. Like, that's insane. But I think if you haven't had a 9-to-5 job and had a paycheck where you worked much harder for way less money, I don't think there's a lot of appreciation. So it's nice when you get people on set who kind of get that. And some of the young girls do, but
I've at least found as a PA, like occasionally, I've dealt with people that were quote difficult, and like they've never been difficult with me. Like
that's good. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just like, hey, like I just like, hey, you want a water? Like just to start off with. And like most people are pretty cool. Like
good.
It's like, I don't know what other people have done to set these people off. Maybe they're having a bad day because, oh my God, you're human. And people sometimes show up to work having a bad day.
Sure.
It happens.
Yeah. I'm glad you haven't had bad experiences. I haven't dealt with a lot of egos on set. I've never had anybody yelling on set, which is nice too. Like there's never been that. And at the end of the day, it's just porn. Yeah. Like no one's winning Academy Awards. We're all just having a good time. We're fucking. Like let's chill out a little bit, you know?
I will say this to the day I die. Every porn crew just wants to go home. So we want to make your life as easy as possible so we can go home.
Right. And that is nice when it's a well-oiled machine, well-lubed machine, I guess. And you have like, okay, here's what we're doing. Here are the positions. Let's have as much momentum as possible so that we can just get it all done in one shot and we don't have to stop a bunch of times. And we know you guys want to go home. Like we do too at some point.
Yeah. Like anyone who's a professional in this industry just does not want to be on set any longer than they have to be.
Exactly. It's a fun day for sure, but they can get kind of long. I remember I was doing one scene and I was looking up into the lights and I accidentally made eye contact with a boom operator, and it was like the most awkward moment where I was like, I'm so sorry. So sorry. I didn't mean to look directly into your eyes as I'm getting fucked. He was cool.
Maybe he's like, she's trying to have a moment with me. What's happening here?
He was very gay.
Well, that makes it even weirder. He's like,
It was.
Does she know I'm gay? Like, what is she trying to do here? Like,
I think it was pretty obvious. It was just a weird moment. I always feel like when you're doing all the sexy stuff and you get the director to kind of be like, "Ooh, I just felt something in my pants a little bit." It feels like a win to me because they see this day in and day.
oh yeah, like you have to do something extraordinary for any crew member to be remotely aroused.
Remotely turned on. Yep.
Yeah, how the sausage is made is pretty unsexy at times.
It definitely can get, or it's just kind of the same every day. You're seeing the same positions, the same noises, the same. And so that's why for me, it's so nice when I have like a genuine connection with the person that I'm fucking that day. Like, and there's been times I've had situations where I've shown up on set and been like I'm not like super attracted to this person. And then we start having sex and the chemistry is insane. I've had that happen where it's like surprise good day,
Like, oh shit. This uggo can fuck.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a really exciting life. I just love it.
It's fucking awesome. Like, oh my God, you're enamored with what you do for a living? How few people actually get to say that?
I do have a girlfriend of mine. We've known each other since we were 7. And when I left the industry and came back, she told me, she said, back when you were in it, I would tell people that like I've never seen anybody as excited about their job as you are, and it was something special. So I know I have my choice of things to do with my life, and I could have picked something more prestigious or, I mean, my mom hates that I do this for a living. We don't talk anymore because she's a lawyer and because this was not the direction I was supposed to go.
Were you supposed to be a lawyer?
No. I mean, something with my music, I'm sure, which this could help anyway. When I get that porn parody musical, I'm telling you.
Why aren't you just putting it together yourself?
There you go. I should do that. But I am just so happy doing it. It's so fulfilling for me. And I just like pinch myself every day that I get to do this and people want to pay to watch. It's fucking wild.
Right?
It's great.
It's like, oh my God, I get to do what I want for a living. People are ecstatic about my work.
And they just give you compliments all day. The whole thing is just ego gratification all of the time. It is fucking insane. And I'm such an exhibitionist. I can't hold on to anything. I'll take a picture and I'll be like, somebody look, masturbate to it.
Do you ever get numb to like all the ego being fed?
No, because I was like bullied a little bit in like middle school and stuff too. So like I never felt like I was super pretty. And so
Or were they just bullying you about your looks, or
not necessarily. I was kind of a smart kid, and so I got
you were smart? What happened?
I know it's all downhill. OMG. So I got kind of like a lot of shit just for being smart, and I was never one. I was like a choir kid nerd, right? Like I was never one of the popular kids. So I remember I read a book, and I can't remember what it was, but in the book there was this moment where a woman was putting gas into her car, and she was described as like even that was sexual. Like she was just like she embodied this like sexual energy, and I just always wanted to be that. And so as I'm getting older, as I'm getting more comfortable with my body, as I'm feeling better and better about myself, I feel like I'm like becoming this kind of fuck doll figure that I've always aspired to be. So I don't get tired of it. I can't believe that people want to see me and will pay money for it. I'm just grateful every day. Like it just feels good every single time I see a tweet, every single time I get a new subscriber, every single time like someone wants to see me on one of these sites. I just didn't think I could ever do this again for a living, and it's going better than I ever expected.
Do you feel this run is going much better than the first run?
I think so. There are some things that I haven't kind of reached. I had a good Twitter following before, and I sold my Twitter, and so I had to build that back up again. So I haven't gotten back to that. But in the sense of like mainstream work, I've done a lot more of that, a lot more pro scenes. It feels like the sky's the limit now with it. And I think a lot of that has to do with how focused I am and how strong my work ethic is now. I think I fell into success a little bit before just because I loved it. And this time I'm being really intentional about my branding, about my next steps, and about how big I want to go.
Why are you here?
Because you got me Diet Coke.
Yes.
You did it.
Like ran into a convention. I'll get you Diet Coke. Please show up.
Please.
Please.
Happy to be here.
Well, and Your story there reminds me of what I always say about this industry is this is the island of misfit toys. Like this whole industry. This isn't where the popular kids, this isn't where the jocks generally end up. This isn't where like, they're your prom queen ends up. It's like, oh, I was a nerd. I was a music dork. I played D&D with a bunch of performers, like on the regular.
Yep.
This is just where, the sexualized misfits end up.
Right. And I was so hypersexual. Like I didn't even do as well in school as I could have because I had a crush in every single class. I was thinking about like boys and some girls all the time. And so it's the perfect industry for me to end up in because at least I can monetize it now.
So do you find yourself having crushes all the time now?
No, not really. Just because I've had so much sex. So it takes a lot. It takes a lot of somebody different, somebody intelligent that really gets me. It's not just
there's intelligent people in this industry, I promise you.
There are a lot of them. It's just it takes a lot to catch my attention more so than just fucking.
Well, obviously, like
yeah. But people think all the time. It's funny to me on social media. It'll be somebody with no avatar that's like, "Well, I'd go on a date with you." Well, I'm not hurting for that.
Right.
I think I'm doing okay.
Hey, bro, what do you have to offer?
I'm not desperate for anything, and when it comes to anything that's a connection more than just sex, I have such a laundry list of things that I won't settle for.
Well, and you shouldn't. Like, you're not desperate. So
no.
Well, and that's what always boggles my mind when like people go, "Well, I'm a nice guy. Why is no one dating me?" Like, bro, what do you have to offer the world?
Yeah.
Like, what are you potentially offering to a partner, to anyone? Like, anyone can be fucking nice. That's the baseline.
That should be the baseline. And if you're saying it, you might not be so nice, or you're expecting something in return. And I feel like women, at least who are confident and know themselves, we can smell that a mile away. We can smell the desperation a mile away. It's not sexy.
Okay, just checking.
I think that smell is something different than desperation.
I took a shower before you got here.
Fine. I have a terrible sense of smell, so you're actually in the clear.
Well, either way, I specifically took a shower before you got here. I use soap and everything.
Well, I took a shower after I did my lesbian collab earlier today. So.
Well, that's a shame.
I know. Well, yeah, exactly.
But it's not smell-o-vision. It's fine.
Reeking of pussy.
Show's over. Didn't show up.
Show.
Didn't show up reeking of pussy. Like, well, I could have at least described it. Like, Sophia shows up.
It's heart.
It's heart. Pungent stench.
Notes of persimmon. Is that?
There was a slight hint of vanilla on my tongue. I don't know.
It's fun. I had a good time.
I'm glad. Glad you're having a good time with it. Shit.
Best.
Life is too fucking short to not try to have a good time. Like, yes, we all have to like occasionally do some work and do some things that we aren't in love with. But the pursuit should be to try to do stuff that you do love, that you are passionate about.
Yeah. Is that why you've been doing this for so long?
I don't know. Like, I don't fucking like my all besides like wanting to make film. Like, at the end of the day, I want to do something. My goal for my life is really simple. I just want to do something I don't hate. I've had so many jobs that I've hated over the course of my life. Like, there are definitely, like any other job, there are days where I wake up and I'm like, fuck yeah, this is gonna be a fun show. I'm gonna have a blast with this. There are other times where it's just like, well, due to social obligations with a publicist or friends of friends, I'm gonna just do the show and
push through.
Or I'm hungover or exhausted or a myriad of other human conditions why I am not 100% in the game, but I'm gonna do my job to the best of my ability.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I do really do.
Well, overall, it's a pretty cool gig, right?
Yeah.
It's what a lot of people would love to be able to do. I mean, there are a million podcasts, right? Like, people.
Oh, remind me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but most of them, what is the statistic? I don't know what it is, but it's like 80% never get past episode 3 or something.
So there are roughly 400 or 4 million podcasts on Apple Podcasts.
That many people think they're interesting, that people want to listen to them?
There's something like 200,000 of them that have put out an episode in the last 6 months.
Okay. Yep.
I produce for other people too, as part of what I do for a living. I have a very canned speech for new clients, which is, here, if you want to be a podcaster, no matter what you think of Joe Rogan, like no matter what you think of his content, the Joe Rogan Experience is a massive show, right?
Of course, yeah, it's huge.
Joe Rogan, before all of that, was on 2 sitcoms, the voice of the UFC, a nationally touring comic,
Fear Factor,
the host of Fear Factor.
That's the most important one.
All of these things. It took 8 years for the Joe Rogan Experience to be a big show with all that fame behind it.
Really? Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, the Jerry is 12 or 13 years old at this point. So not only is it in on the ground floor of podcasting.
When it was new and exciting and not everybody was doing it.
Right.
So that was a plus.
And a lot of fame behind it and a lot of money to do it right.
Yeah.
And it still took nearly a decade.
And a really specific voice too. I mean, yeah, absolutely. And I feel like that's related to kind of OnlyFans too, because there are so many women who are like, well, I'm hot, maybe I'll just show my feet. And I think the average income on OnlyFans is $160 a month.
Well, and I actually make the podcast to OnlyFans comparison all the time. Because it's one of those things where, like, yes, you can do it. Yes, the barrier of entry is really fucking low on both of them.
Sure.
How do you stand out from the noise?
It's so
Both,
saturated.
right. And neither one of them have great discoverability.
And, well, oh yeah, that's true. It's like you have to create your own market outside of it because OnlyFans won't market for you. So you have to do that work. And it's just, I think the main thing, especially for OnlyFans, is consistency. And so if you're not posting every day or close to every day, like I've had at least 1 to 2, mostly 2 posts a day for over a year now. And you just have to really love it. You have to really want to sell yourself, as a brand.
Podcasting is the exact same way.
Same.
Like if you don't have at least a weekly episode and it coming out about the same time every week, you'll never gain traction.
Yeah. Well, people want to be able to rely on their entertainment.
Well, and on top of it, especially with podcasting, people only have so much time in the day to listen to podcasts. Why are they going to choose your podcast?
Right. And there are a million women on OnlyFans with fantastic tits. Why are they picking yours? It's the girls who come in who say, I want to just show my feet. I don't want to show my face. But you don't have anything behind it. You don't have a brand. You don't have why would they be interested in your toes?
Right. Unless you're the hot bartender that a bunch of people are lusting after.
Right.
More power to you if like you are able to niche out a living on, oh, hey, a bunch of people know who I am and like locally want to masturbate to me. Cool.
Great. No, and I love that people are able to do it. I love that, all different types of people, all different body types, all different fetishes, that you don't have to have a mainstream company saying this will sell. I love that all of that can exist, but I think it is a little bit funny when people just assume it's easy.
That's part of like back to me being like, I've never been a performer. I never want to be a performer. I definitely don't want to like put my dick on the internet for $160 a month.
Yeah.
Because
it has to be worth it.
Right.
I wouldn't do this for free. Absolutely not.
And on the podcast that I just did that I'm not airing, I'm like, oh yeah, if someone would offer me life-changing money to suck their dick, I'd suck their dick. Yeah. No one would be satisfied in the situation, but I'd do it. Like, I don't know how to suck a dick. Like, it would be really unenthusiastic, but I'd do it for the paycheck. If it's going to be life-changing money, yeah.
Sure.
But I'm not doing it for $160.
Right. And the thing is, especially with that social stigma, you don't necessarily care about your face being out there because you've been within the industry. But if someone, especially with camming, this was a big thing. It's like if you're going to show your face on camera and potentially alter your life trajectory because you've now done sex work, it better be worth the money. And that's really hard for people, especially now because it's so saturated with camming, with OnlyFans. It is hard to make that leap and make it worth it, but that consistency part's huge. You have to be out on social media and create a following through that too. It's really difficult these days. I'm glad I didn't have to completely start over. Luckily, people remembered at least some of me.
Right. Like, I've seen those feet before.
Yeah. Wait a second. I had new tits though, and new tattoos, but otherwise,
oh no, new tits and new tattoos, such horrible things.
It's terrible. I mean, it didn't hurt with people recognizing me, so I guess it's fine.
It's not like you got Jennifer Grey's nose job.
No, I did actually have a nose job, and before it, people called me Barbara Streisand. So, but that was before sex work. I don't think it was that big. I didn't like it, so I changed it.
Hey, whatever makes you happy. It's your body.
Oh, absolutely. I'm just like turning into like the fuck doll I always wanted to be. Isn't that sweet?
It is. It's heartwarming.
Oh, thanks. It's cockwarming.
Not at the moment. Sorry. Sorry to disappoint you. Sorry.
No, I just want like plays on words that are dirty.
I know what you're doing. Just bring me back down to earth a little bit. Just...
that my puns aren't very funny. Or that
no.
That's really what it is. I don't actually care if it's turning anyone on. I just want the wordplay.
You want the mental stimulation. That's what you're here for. I get it.
I told you intelligence is a thing. I don't know if that plays to it, but
Once again, why are you here?
Fair.
And the Diet Coke's halfway gone, so like the show's almost over. I know.
Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah, the caffeine is surging through me. I can feel it.
Sophia's just like, as soon as the bottle's gone, I'm out.
Well, you haven't gotten too drunk, so.
Well, yeah, because I killed the bottle early. Oh, there's a little left.
There is a little bit left. Come on. I was always the enabler of my friends anyway.
Oh, I did much of the same. I'm like,
come on, guys, shots. Let's go.
When I do the show, I'm very big on like, oh, this is a self-server show, but like, I'm not gonna stop you.
Right. Interesting. Well, yeah, because people, I assume, get more comfortable the more they drink, and
that is part of the secret to the sauce. That's why it is a 2-hour show, because you need the first hour to metabolize the alcohol.
Oh, and then by the end of it, just all of the secrets are pouring out. Mm-hmm. Well, good thing I'm an open book then, because you don't have to like tease anything out of me.
Yeah, I very much don't have to pry anything out of you. Like, but sometimes that's, I don't want to like make anyone uncomfortable, but sometimes it's kind of fun being like, so come on, tell me, don't like,
sure,
share it with me. I want to know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's at least this topic is just generally entertaining. I feel like for a lot of people, it's just.
I hope so.
In general.
I fucking hope so. Like,
yeah, oh God, let's cross our fingers.
If it's not entertaining, they've already clicked off, and like we're just talking to the internet ourselves.
That's fine too. I mean, we like to hear ourselves talk, so.
I've edited so many hours of my own voice. I'm not sure about that. So many hours.
Yeah, I don't actually watch a lot of my porn, so I get it.
Yeah, I'm my own editor. So this is somewhere in the episode of 350 range.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I've been doing this. I've been doing this for a minute, and I've been my own editor since the 3rd episode.
Wow. Yeah.
So,
do you listen back through like the entire thing?
Well, I have to.
Why?
It's a 2-camera shoot. I have to sit and synchronize cameras.
Oh, shit. You haven't made it any easier for yourself in all these years?
There's no way to make that
There's no way. Okay. I mean, you know the technical side of it better than I do.
Yeah, like so. I have to select a camera angle on who's talking.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You have to do that throughout the entire. Oh, shit. So, man, that sucks.
It's the gig. I signed up for it. I'm the one who decided to make this full video in 2019. It was audio only for
It's been full video since then.
Mm-hmm.
That's really awesome. I feel like so many podcasts aren't. So I wasn't sure. I didn't do a whole lot of makeup, but I was like, passable.
Well, video. My thought process is show up on however it's comfortable for you. Like however you want to be seen by the internet, show up. Like people have shown up in pajamas.
Yeah.
I've had people show up in like full like, set. But regular people like, is there a specific outfit I should wear? Is there like, no.
Just be comfortable.
Be comfortable. Show up how you want the internet to see you.
Yeah.
I'm going to.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, the entire internet's seen me in every way. So so who cares?
I'm not also trying to control anyone's image.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Like this is, yes, you are here under your stage name, but I want the audience to get a feel of who you are as a person, not necessarily the character that you're portraying regularly on set in your scenes.
Yeah, which me is now a mom. Apparently, that's like the character I've been portraying. But that's a big reason why I love podcasts. Like, besides the fact that I love to talk, but I really do like talking about what really happens, like what really is going on in my head, because I feel like it normalizes the people in the industry a little bit more too.
Oh my God, because they're real people with hopes, dreams, ambitions, and
what
do things away from work.
Yeah,
but. Speaking about playing a mom, you ever thought about having kids in real life?
So I never really had that biological desire to have children. I always loved kids. I've worked with kids. I love other people's babies. And there was a point where I thought maybe if I met a partner who was really adamant about it, I would consider it. But by the time I turned 35, I decided that was no longer part of my journey, and I got my tubes removed. So
cream pies for days.
That's that, and I have an IUD in for the hormones. So I'm the most baby-proof person. Like, you should see guys' eyes light up on set. They're like, "What?" So yeah, when I had that done, it was super empowering because that just took away the option for me, which was great because I don't want children. And so it's just done.
Hey, that's awesome. And I wholeheartedly support it. I got myself sterilized last year, so
Yeah, congratulations.
thank you. I filmed it for YouTube.
Did you? Why am I not surprised? Was it a pretty easy recovery?
The recovery was annoying, but not the end of the world.
Okay. Yeah.
The procedure itself was under 10 minutes.
Amazing.
I'm awake for the whole thing. Like,
yeah.
The shot is from the chest up and me just mugging and bullshitting to the camera for 10 minutes.
Okay. Okay.
Like, I definitely asked the doctor how my shave job was.
And what did they say?
Oh, it's on point. I'm like, that's right. That's on camera.
There we go. You did it. That's proof that
Yep.
you shaved well. That's important.
Medical professional approved of my.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's really exciting. Yeah.
Yeah. I never wanted children. Like, much like you, it's like there was a point where I had a partner who had a kid, and I very much was like, well, if this is going to get really serious, I might as well have one with them too. Like,
interesting.
And then I panicked and ran. So.
Right. It was, I had a partner who had a daughter, and I really liked having that kind of relationship. It was a really nice kind of like, I'm helping, but I'm not your mom kind of deal. So I enjoyed that. Like I wouldn't have minded being a step parent maybe, but I just never wanted my own. It seemed really expensive, like a lot of work and exhausting, and it would derail, what I was trying to do with my life and change my body. It just sounded awful, kind of.
It really does. And much the same for me was fears of never realizing my own ambitions to help raise this person's child was part of why I panicked and ran. Because like she had no support system at fucking all.
Oh, so you would have had to be such a huge part of that.
Yeah. Like the baby day was a piece of the statute of limitations have passed on this. She had to stop me from going over there with a gun at one point.
Oh my God.
He had put hands on her while she was holding her kid, and I lost my shit.
Oh my God.
Like, and I'm normally not a violent person, but it was just like she came to my house crying, and it was just like, I'm gonna murder this guy.
It's so difficult to be entangled in all of that too, where it's not your situation, but now it is.
Yeah, it's like, well, I'd be pretty protective of like someone put hands on my partner in the first place, but like something just, even though it's his fucking kid, but she was holding, their infant daughter at the time when he puts hands on her. She thankfully had a much cooler head than me and like stopped me.
Stopped you.
Yeah, I would not be here right now if like I had gone through my impulses at that point. But
yeah.
But it's still like I definitely panicked and was just like, oh well, she can't rely on that piece of shit.
Yeah,
she's got no support system of her own. I would have to be it. I would have to stay at the 9 to 5 I was working at the time that I fucking hated.
Yeah.
And be a support system for her. And I fucking panicked.
I mean, I don't blame you. I feel like we all just kind of, we're the center of our own universe, right? Like this is our life. And at the end of it, do you want to feel like you lived it completely for somebody else and that you didn't realize all of your dreams and ambitions, or at least try for them?
Right.
I don't want that.
No, I'm not. I often like give people shit when they're like, but my family, like, is it your life or theirs?
Mm-hmm.
If not even if like on the industry front, like I have friends back in Chicago who are miserable in Chicago.
Yeah.
And there's just like, but my family's here. I'm like, that's cool. There's planes. You can go back and visit them at some point.
Right. No, living your life for somebody else is just, it'll like eat away at you. It kind of dims you.
100%. Like the idea of like just it sounds just horrible. Some other like, especially because you don't necessarily know if they have good intentions for you either.
Sure. Yeah. Well, everyone's selfish, right?
Right.
They think of themselves first. I think a big part of why I did well in real estate too financially, but like having my own financial independence is so important to me because I've never stayed in a relationship because I had to, because I was relying on somebody else. It's why I have no interest in sugar daddies. I have no interest in like, I want to make my own money. And that comes back to like our obligation thing, right? I don't want to be obligated to anyone because I've been able to, I moved across the country twice this year and I had my own money to do it. Like I never want to feel stuck. And I feel like what you were talking about in your situation, there was like a stuck feeling. It
also comes from some childhood trauma because I'm the result of my mother's second marriage, and I have a half sister from her first marriage, and it's just like, oh, I don't want to repeat history here.
Right. Yeah, you're hyper aware of that specific situation too.
Yeah, but specifically that situation because like My father was a miserable human being. He tried to do the right thing. He worked 2 jobs, so there was always food on the table. We never got evicted, but he was a miserable human being.
Yeah.
And like, that's not the life I want to fucking lead.
Right. And it's like, yeah, you inherently just start living for somebody else when you have children. And I hear it's a beautiful thing, but if I've never had the urge,
Right.
why would I put myself through it? Like, I don't have that like need to procreate at all.
Well, and everyone tells me, like, people say, oh, once the kid comes out, it just, something flips.
Sure.
But what if it doesn't?
Right.
You can't put it away. You can't just be like, oh,
I guess I'm done here. This is terrible.
right.
Yeah, no.
You could, but you'd be a horrible fucking human.
The ultimate commitment. It's a bigger commitment than marriage. It's a bigger commitment than almost any. You can get out of almost anything else, and just having a child, that's a real hard one to get out of. And it
I mean, unless there's
person.
unless there's a fire department nearby, then just leave it right there.
And we're finished. Yeah. Like, is there a baby box somewhere I can put this thing in?
I think actually you can leave children at any fire department. Like, that's a thing.
Oh, is that an actual thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, but then you have to live with yourself the rest of your life. I mean, it's just, why even start in the first place? Maybe that's why I was always so picky about protection and like just never wanted to become pregnant. I got lucky and now it's over for me and I'm fine with that.
Never any scares?
I think I had one like in high school and another one in college, where I like my period was late and I was like, oh no. But no, since then, I mean, I was on birth control forever. It's funny, when I'm not on birth control, I get this weird predatory horniness that happens like once a month. And so when I had my tubes removed, I was like, well, take out the IUD. I don't need it. This is great. I'm going to have that like predatory, like teenage horniness. It was bad. It was like any dick. I was like, in that moment, it was almost painful, like how predatory I felt toward men. And I went, and also my face broke out. It was like terrible acne. It was like I was a teenager again. And so I was like, put that thing back in my cervix. Please, God, I don't care how much it hurts. So yeah, no, believe it or not, there's a version of me that's hornier and worse, terrifying.
You're going to have scene partners trying to reach in there and pull it out.
Oh no, yeah. Like, come on, I want
to let the genie out of the bottle.
It's terrifying. Nobody wants it. It's not good. I have plenty of sex drive with it dampened, believe it or not.
It's like a monkey's paw. It's like, oh, be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, exactly.
Sophia's on the prowl.
It was scary. I remember at the time I was in real estate and my partner was overseas his job. And I remember thinking that some of my realtors were kind of and I had never felt that way before about them ever. But I suddenly was like, well, I mean, I guess, I wonder what it would be like to fuck him. And I just, oh, nope. So it gets worse.
You're like about to reenact some of that reality or the real estate porn.
Real estate, yeah, which I never did. I never fucked someone in an open house. People ask me that kind of stuff all the time. I was so, job focused. I would have never.
Yeah, I feel that's a silly question. Like I want to hear the porned up answer to that question.
Oh yeah, people think your life is a porn and it just isn't,
No, like when you date performers in real life and like, it's like, oh no, I'm drawing an Epsom salt bath for them and like, we're going to watch movies.
Exactly. And we're going to cuddle and I'm not going to ask her to ride me because she did it at work and she's tired.
Right. I may have to ask her to watch me jack off. Like,
yeah, exactly. Like, honey, you're doing such a good job.
That's nice.
Oh yeah, great.
Yeah.
It's not as sexy as people think it is. I mean, there's a lot of parts of it that I feel like we get desensitized to that are pretty amazing, where you're like, oh, I had to go to this orgy today. But, just those kind of things that, I think blow some people's minds. But for us, it's just every day.
But it's the thing of like, my mind was much more blown by the 7 Brazilian gangbang in real life than anything that's like arranged on a set because cool, like it was arranged on a set. This didn't happen organically. The amazing stories happen in life organically, not someone committed something to paper and then made it fucking happen. That's a cool end product, but that's not like as cool.
Right. And there's so much negotiation that goes around this kind of stuff, because you want it to be safe. You want everyone to be tested. You want everyone to have the right, boundaries and to discuss that kind of stuff. It's important. And it's not very sexy. I mean, I think it's kind of sexy, but like it isn't, objectively very sexy to be like, hey, are you free this date? So that I mean, it's a lot of scheduling and logistics. And I've tried to arrange gangbangs in my personal life since that one, and it's never worked out because the guys chicken out. Like there was like a Swedish documentary crew that was filming for kink.com when I was shooting there years and years and years ago. We all went out to a bar after, and they were hot. Apparently it's an international thing for me. It's Brazilians or Swedes. And we went out, and one of the guys who was super hot was like, well, maybe we could do all of us. And I said, if you all have condoms and yes, let's go. And they dipped out one by one. They all chickened out. And so it's when it comes down to it, and when I've dated in the industry when I was single, this job is really intimidating to men. And even if they're very confident over the internet or over the dating apps, once you get someone in person, probably 70% of the time their dick doesn't work, because in their head, it's such a mental thing to be like, this woman has been with a guy with this big of a dick. Or
Even one-on-one?
Yeah. When I dated, when I was single the last time, it was probably 70% of the guys that I like, down to like when we got to the sex, they couldn't get their dick hard.
Wow.
And I think it's because of what I did for a living.
Wow. All right.
And it's so frustrating because it's like, I'm here with you. I want to connect with you. I'm not comparing you to anybody. I'm not on some like weird upper echelon of like sex performance. I just really enjoy sex, and film sex is very different than personal sex.
Well, definitely. Well,
they don't know that. They want to try 17 positions, and you're like, I don't want this.
No, that sounds exhausting.
Mm-hmm.
No one's going to get a good rhythm with that.
No. They just keep changing it up. That's another reason I have no interest in dating people, civilians, I guess people call it, like outside of the industry. That's
mind-boggling to me, because like I understand I am not a beautiful man. Like I understand, but like I am very much like, oh, this is where you want to be? Like, okay, let's go. Like, yeah, like the only times I have failed is generally due to alcohol.
Sure. And that happens sometimes, and it's not a big deal. It was just the fact that it was so many in a row and over this time that I was like, it has to just be a mental thing about what I do. You're also probably not intimidated by talking to women who do this for a living.
I hope not.
I would hope not at this point, right? So, but
even well before that, like
for a lot of men though, it's like you match on an app with someone who says they do porn, and your brain makes it into this big thing before you've ever even met the person.
Yeah. For me, on the other hand, it's when I meet someone on an app who's like, I do porn and OnlyFans, I'm like, hey, are you actually trying to meet people, or are you just trying to hustle your OnlyFans right now?
Right. Yeah.
Like, if you're just trying to hustle your OnlyFans, good game. That's cool.
No, I'm not going to be the person for it.
Right. Do you need an editor?
Yeah, exactly. That's when you do your hustle.
I'm honestly about to like take a picture for the dating apps, like, and just hold a sign that says, I will, like my profile picture, I will edit your OnlyFans. Like,
oh my God, you would get so much work from that, I bet. Yeah. With like some examples, or like in like working on stuff that looks very professional and official, I bet you would get good people from that.
Like, don't want to date me? That's fine. You want to?
Yeah, exactly.
But, yeah, like dudes, someone, no matter who they are, if like it's the point where we're taking our clothes off, this is where they want to be. Like, don't get in your head about it.
Right. Like, I'm choosing to be with you here. Like, I want to have that connection. It's why I love sex. It's that connection. It's that like roller coaster that you're on together, even if it's just for a little bit. Like, then you just had this experience. Like, it's a really fun thing. And
and it's one of those things where like, sex isn't Everest.
No.
You're not going to be the first person they have sex with. You're not going to be the last person. You may not be the most memorable partner, but enjoy it for what it is in the moment.
Right. And I know I'm not that for everybody. If I'm not feeling chemistry, they're probably not either, So,
well, I mean, definitely if they can't get their dick hard.
Yeah. Good. I just feel so bad because it's like, it's not a big deal. There was one guy in college. He was this beautiful Dominican man, and we would always flirt. I worked at the Reebok concept store. I was 18, and he would we'd go get shoes together. And he would like push his cock up against my ass, and I was like, oh, he's so hot. So finally, I had him over to my apartment, and we had been kind of playing this game for months and months and months, this tease game. And he came over, and we had a beer or whatever it was, And we go to have sex. He puts on the condom, and he, within probably less than 10 seconds, he was out of me, and he was pulling on his clothes as fast as he could. And I was in shock because I'm sitting there, ass up, confused. And I was like, what's going on? Are you okay? And he's like, I'm just going to go. And I realized that I checked, I looked down at the condom, and he had come, right? Like really fast, which is fine. It's kind of flattering, honestly. like you couldn't even hold it. But I tell him, I said, it's fine. You can just stay here. Like, we'll have another beer. We'll wait some time. And I noticed that he's crying, and then he runs out of the apartment. So I felt terrible. But the next time I saw him at work, which was so awkward, he comes up to me and he goes, "Hey, Ma, when are we going to do that again?" Like completely. He must have just repressed it. So that's my crying Dominican man story.
Either that or, he told someone else that he was going to go hook up with you, and then, had to play it up for the other coworker that he had bragged about hooking up with you.
I'm sure it was and it was just so disappointing because I don't care in that moment. It was, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, it happens. It's fine. We've been building up to this, but he just ran out of my apartment.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And dudes, at least as my anecdotal experience, I've definitely come too quick.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's just like, give me a few.
Can I tell you, it has happened a lot on set. No one's ever come too quick on set, but they get close and then they have to stop you. And it is so satisfying to make a veteran male performer be like, "Ooh, I am just feeling this so much that we have to pause for a second." It is the best ego boost.
Oh, I can imagine. I mean, it's like,
it feels great. So, I mean, it's a fun thing for us on our side of it, of like, oh, like, this feels so good that you almost can't control yourself. I think it's kind of fun.
Oh, yeah. And I've also had my usual whiskey dick is that I don't finish. I've definitely had people stick around and be like, no, I'm not leaving until I get that load from you.
Yeah. There's a source of pride in that too,
Like, it's just like, oh, no, my job's not done until you come. I'm like, but it could be. Like,
yeah, you could be done. It's fine.
Like if you don't want to do this anymore, like I'll live with not having an orgasm tonight. Like,
yeah, and that's the difference between someone like you and like an 18-year-old who like the be all end all is the cum shot, and it doesn't need to be.
Well, I guess I'm lucky / unlucky that I didn't come with my first two partners. Like, I just was so in my own head, I just could never get off.
Yeah.
So like, it sucks. Believe me, it sucks. But my first partner, I just did not get off. It was just like
there's just too much in your head.
Yeah. Well, one of them I was very drunk for.
Right. That'll definitely do it. Yeah. I didn't have an orgasm until I was 18 and in college, and I had been masturbating since I was 13. So I didn't even, I didn't even know that was like the goal. I just knew that things felt good. And then when I had my first orgasm, which took like 40 minutes, and it was manual, and I was like a writhing, sweaty mess. It was pretty amazing, actually. So I was like, oh, that's what we're going for here. And I've been really fortunate, especially in this industry. Like, I come really easily, and I feel like not a lot of women do necessarily. So I am pretty lucky with that. But that first time, it took a good long time.
Is it vaginal intercourse that really gets you off, or is it clitoral stimulation, or?
Vaginal can get me there really quickly. Clitoral, I need usually like a Hitachi for it. So like some sort of vibration as well. But like I feel like a lot of women can't come through penetration, and for me it's pretty easy. It's just a matter of like the guy continuing to do the same thing that he was doing. And so I'm really vocal with my scene partners of like, I'm going to come, or just like that, or yes, please, like I'm about to, whatever. So they continue to do it. I had some people change it up, and I try not to show on camera that I'm like, oh, I'm so close. Like, try not to show my frustration.
Like, no, this is why I don't want 17 positions. God damn it.
Exactly. It's like, no, don't stop. Please keep going.
Right.
Yeah.
It's right there, right?
Right. It's literally right there. Don't move. Or like I'll help kind of guide women into like making me come. And that's really nice too, especially if they don't have a lot of experience with women, because every woman is so different, especially with oral, on what makes them come and what feels good for them, because people have such different sensitivities. And I feel like women who haven't had a lot of experience with women don't necessarily know that. And they're like, what is the trick? Same with men, right? They're like, what do you do? The alphabet with your tongue? Don't do that. Like, I had one guy that I really wanted to fuck. I was probably 18 at the time. And we finally were going to. I thought he was really cool because it was around the time of The Matrix came out, which is dating myself.
You've already made your age on air. It's fine.
That's true. It's fine. Almost 40. And he would like wear this like black trench coat, and I thought he was really cool. And we finally hooked up. We hooked up in his parents' bed, and it was a dead silent room. And he's going down on me, and suddenly I hear, I'm like, okay, he's enjoying himself. He's humming or like into it. And then he keeps humming and he doesn't stop. And so the whole time in this dead silent room, I'm hearing, and he thought he was vibrating. If you put your finger on your mouth and you do that, there's no vibration. It doesn't do anything. It was just him humming in a dead silent room into my pussy. It was the most awkward, the most awkward moment. And I just stared at the ceiling and hoped that it would be done soon. So that's my advice. Don't do that.
Now you tell me.
Oh, God. Oh, you were doing the Matrix hum.
For like 30 years now. No, I've been sexually active 30 years. Jesus, I'm not that old.
Oh, God. Yeah, wait a second. Hold up.
Like I did the
Cops.
I did the math in my own head. I'm like, ooh, that'd be bad.
That would actually not be great to be telling people. Yeah, but every woman's different. Every like body is different. Same with guys too. I'll ask them before set, like before we shoot, is there something you really like? Is there something you don't really like? And you'd be surprised at how many are like, hey, like grab my cock as hard as you can, or like don't grab it hard at all, or like play with my balls, or don't touch my balls. And so there isn't kind of a one-stop shop.
Judging by some of the head I've gotten over the years, somebody's into having their urethra tongued. Because
Interesting. Oh, I've never even thought about doing that.
I was super not into it. I'm just like, yeah, like why, like it's not a clit. Like, please don't stick your tongue there. Like around the base is cool. Like on the head, like
Fascinating.
Like that was not comfortable. Like
Yeah, I've also heard about guys that don't like to be deep throated. So like that was a big thing on like porn guy Twitter for a minute too, because I know that a lot of girls like it'll hit their teeth. And there are just some dicks you can't deep throat because they're too wide anyway. But
I don't mind getting deep throated, but it's just like at the end of the day, all head ever 99 out of 100 times for me is like your mouth's gonna be on my dick for like 2 minutes and then I'm going to want to fuck.
right, exactly. Well, that's how I feel about receiving oral. Like it's fine and I like it, but there are so many other things that I would, I'm like I want your cock in me. So
But I've definitely had people like, oh, I want to suck your dick, and I'm just like, before we begin, please understand, like, I'm cool with that, but I'm going to want to fuck very quickly.
yeah.
If you are not down to fuck after, like during this, I'm not going to start. Right.
You don't even want it if it's not going to lead into. That's fair. I think that's a good disclaimer for before sexy time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have like a list of no's? This is too invasive.
No, it's not at all.
Do you have like a list of like I absolutely
What else this show thinks that I'm going to be like, oh my God, that's the line. That's the line I'm not crossing.
I know that usually you're the one asking the questions.
No. Normally this is a conversation.
Okay.
But no. Oh, okay. Let me rephrase. Because I do have digestive issues, I am very, I'm just uncomfortable. Like, I don't think, even if it was going to be potentially punishable, I'm going to get out of my head enough to let it happen.
It's like too deep of an insecurity for it to be something that you could be comfortable with.
So I was diagnosed with fucking Crohn's in 2004. Like it's just like, oh, sometimes what comes out of there is fucking horrific. Yeah. And like, the last thing I want to do is ruin sexy time by your finger starts a geyser or some shit.
Yeah. Although that would sell pretty well on OnlyFans.
Yeah, but I don't film what I do. I would just destroy someone's bed and...
Yeah, it's like Old Faithful, but out of your ass.
Exactly. It'd be like the fucking opening to the Beverly Hillbillies. Up comes bubbling crude.
Yeah. Okay, so that makes sense. So no, but do you like rimming then, or no? Like no butt things?
It's one of those things where like, be aware if you're, putting your mouth down there.
That's how I feel about anal in general. I'm like, if you're going to play in the playground and I'm not there, like, then that's your funeral, buddy. Like that's.
Oh yeah. And like, I will definitely, give people anal. Like,
yeah,
I felt so bad for this girl. Like anal, pull out, shit on my dick. Like,
sure. Of course it's part of it.
She was mortified. I'm just like, I'm going to go take a shower real quick.
Yeah.
Gave her a kiss and like.
Yeah, that's good.
But she was still just like, I can't believe. I'm like, it washes right off. Don't worry.
That's where it's stored, my friend.
Right. Like, you wanted me to put it in your ass. I put it in your ass. I knew what was happening here.
Oh.
But for me personally, anytime like a finger goes on my butt cheek too close to like, it's like I just start clenching. It's just like,
Yeah.
it's like no. Like, this is probably. But other than that, like, yeah, I'm not particularly submissive. Like, I've had girls try to choke me, and it was just like, this is not fun for me.
It felt like, did it feel silly or did it feel like bad?
Both.
Okay. Yeah.
It was just like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. No thanks.
no thanks. And I had hair down the middle of my back, like, till my early 20s.
Yeah.
Like, I definitely had girls pull my hair at points. I'm like, what are you doing? No, stop that.
Yeah. So like, yeah. So like any, like, so no, like, and no pain things or anything, like no.
I mean, no, people have definitely bit me and be like, oh, that's cool. Like, like, depending on like where the biting happens and like, in the heat of the moment, like, if it's just like your opening move is to bite me, like, that might be a problem.
Let's not. Yeah, we have to dial up to that. I had one girl that I used to make out with like forever ago before sex work, and she would bite the fuck out of my lips, and it hurt so badly. I would stop her and say, like, you're really hurting me. Like that. This isn't fun for me.
Yeah.
And she would continue to do it. It just wasn't fun. Like, I think some people have like a natural something that they do, and it just is not.
Like, this is my move.
Yeah, it was like her drunk move was to like bite my lips off, and I just was like, this isn't sexy. And I feel like the second you get into like not sexy, like the second like a hand is around your throat, you're like, I'm kind of out. Like this isn't fun anymore.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely was hooking up with some girl I met at a party on a couch at a friend's place. This is years and years and years ago, and like we're going at it, and she goes to choke me, and it was just like, I took her hand off my neck and like we get back to me, and then she puts her hand on my neck again.
Did it again?
Yeah, I'm just like took her hand, and then I pulled up my pants and I just left. And she's like, "Where are you going?" I'm like, "Home. Have a good night."
Yeah, like I'm not into it.
Like I was also starting to sober up and realizing I wasn't really into her.
Yeah. So all of those things together were just like not a pleasurable experience. I feel like I've like pushed through a lot, especially like party, fucking or something like that, where I've like kind of just pushed through because I didn't want to be rude, but like I got the ick kind of like partially through, and it was just, all right, let's just finish this.
Yeah, no, I've definitely had some regrettable sex with people while drunk, like just like, oh, sober, this is not where I wanted to be, but I was drunk and horny, and you were here.
Yeah. I mean, like a big part of why I quit drinking, probably the main part was blacking out and then being like, I didn't want to do that with that person necessarily. Like I wouldn't have picked this sober. So it's nice to be in control of all of my decisions now.
Thankfully, there are very few cases of blacking out and fucking people, but there are definitely a couple occasions of sobering up while inside someone and being like, oh, why am I here?
Oh no. Oh, that's so awkward.
I'm like, I'm pot committed at this point. I might as well.
Oh yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna power through this, but like, this is not where I necessarily want to be. Like, there's a story I've told a bunch of times on here about hooking up at a friend's wedding with a horrible human being and is sobering up inside her.
Oh shit.
Yeah, but these things happen. Like,
And I will say, I think it's telling that I've never finished a cam show or finished a shoot, either pro or collab, where I've felt bad about myself after. Never. Like I've always felt really good about the porn that I've done, because I've picked it and I'm giving my body pleasure, I'm giving somebody else pleasure. So I think that's, I guess, kind of telling, when it comes to this. So it's good that I don't drink, but it's also good that I do porn.
It is. It absolutely is. I just, should be a little choosy about who I fuck when I'm drunk sometimes.
And sometimes if you're too drunk, you're not picking. And that was the problem for me.
Oh, no. I've on multiple occasions. Like, when the last year I technically lived in Vegas, my stuff was in storage and I was crashing at a friend's place. And like, she and I had been hooking up on and off for years. Drunkenly, I ended up banging her best friend and one of her roommates.
Yeah.
And boy, that didn't go over super great. One of them was like, we had no commitments or anything like that. Like, we'd just hook up occasionally when we were both horny. But like, I came into town for her birthday and she decided she wanted to fuck someone else for her birthday. I'm like, that's cool. It's your birthday. Happy birthday.
Yeah.
And her roommate's like, so you going to bed alone? I'm like, I was planning on it. I want some company. I'm like, sure.
Yeah, why not? That sounds great.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Sorry.
Yeah. And then it's like, on top of it not being great, like, definitely made things awkward like the next morning.
Ugh, that's the worst. And it's just like, yeah. And especially when you have sex for a living, you're like, sex itself isn't exciting. There has to be something else about it. There has to be some sort of connection or production or, like the unknown is only fun up until like the make out part, I think, for me. If it's like somebody kind of hot, then you're like, ooh, then make out. But then past that, you're like, oh, it's sex.
I essentially just wanted to masturbate inside someone that night. That's really where I was at. Like, I don't think I was particularly great in bed there either. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think she was like, holy fuck, that was the fuck of my young life. It was just like,
Everybody was just getting through it.
yeah, everyone, I think she described it like, Matt fucked me like I was in a porn. I'm just like, yeah, I was just trying to get off. Like,
Yeah.
not one of my shinier moments.
No, and it should be this like mutually nice thing. And I think drinking always clouded that for me.
Oh, it does for me too. Like, yeah. But I think I had something like 17 partners in 2014 and not one of them sober.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it was just like, ooh. It was like, I might need to take a little reflection on what I'm doing here.
Yeah. Is it that you're more comfortable approaching when you're drunk or drinking?
I mean, I think that was part of it. I think it was just also like, I was just in more like social drunk situations where like in a bunch of those cases, like the female was kind of the aggressor.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The opportunity was
Yeah.
more likely
Yeah.
because of the situation.
Yeah, it was just like, oh, yeah. Like that one in particular, like I was just going to go to bed. I was drunk and I was just going to,
Yeah.
I was like, do you want company? I'm like, yes, I do.
Sure. Why not?
Sure.
Yeah. Fuck it.
Yeah.
Literally.
Exactly. And that happened a handful of times, over the course of the year. It was just like drunk social situations. And it's just like, oh, okay. And there were only a couple regrettable hookups of all those partners.
Okay, good. So it wasn't that like all of those were kind of mediocre because of the drinking or
No, but it was just like at the end of the year, I'm like, oh, I had for someone who does not have sex on film, a lot of partners this year. And the fact that I take that back. I was sober for one of them.
Yeah.
I was sober for one of them.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like, it was just like, I don't think this isn't necessarily healthy that I was drunk for almost everyone I had sex with this year.
Yeah, it is interesting to kind of think about of like why,
Yeah, I never really gave it a deep dive on like, well, why exactly did that happen more when I was drunk? It was just like, that's just how it happened.
Well, I liked that about drinking or about going out at night where you didn't know where the night was going to take you. You didn't know, especially when I would go out in Seattle when I was still drinking, I would go out with cam girlfriends. And I knew we were going to hook up because like that's just what I did with my girlfriends. But then we would maybe try and find a guy, or it would be one of the guys that I was like, seeing on one of the apps. And so it would turn into a threesome, or it would turn into something we could record. And those were fun. But I wasn't very present during them, and I didn't remember parts. And so it's just really nice to know that I can have a good time when going out, and then I can still have this crazy sex life that I'm perfectly fine being sober for. And it's better sober because I'm present.
Oh, fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And I am not a proponent of just having drunk sex, by the way. I'm just putting that out there. Like, it's just how it happened.
Oh, yeah, I know. Well, because it gave you pause, too, to be like, hey, wait a second. Let me think about that. I know women. I have a girlfriend of mine who's not in the industry, and she was surprised to know that most of my sex has been sober. That for her, because of how she feels about herself and about sexuality, she kind of needed to be drunk for a lot of her sex or be under the influence of something. And I think that's a really common theme with especially a lot of women, because it's such a vulnerable place to be and to put yourself in.
Well, and there's also the societal stigmas of like being sexually like, oh my God, that you as a woman have sexual desires. Like, but I was drunk, so it's okay.
Right. Like if you had picked that, then you're just a slut. But if you were just drunk, then, it just kind of happened and oops.
Oops. I just happened to fall on that dick.
I fell into it. Yeah, but there's something so powerful about not giving a fuck anymore, which is really nice for me of like, yes, I'm slutty. Yes, I love sex. And I'm still doing it in a safe, discerning way. You know what I mean? Like I get to pick what I do with my body and with my life, and you can think whatever you'd like about it. In fact, pay me to watch.
And that's honestly, minus depending on where you are in life, about the pay me part, that's how it should be for everybody.
I think so too. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think we're getting a little bit closer to that, like we talked about before with OnlyFans, there being less of a stigma around adult work and I think that affects how society views female sexuality as well. It's a different generation than kind of how my mom's generation viewed it, which was, that like if you were sexual or you sold any aspect of it or you appeared that way or dressed a certain way, that made you have less value as a woman or as a human.
But it's such a weird situation because it's like the late 60s, the free love, the, like burning our bras, like, is that second wave or third wave feminism at that
I'm
point?
not sure which one, but
We're highly educated here on, and now we drink.
clearly.
But, the whole like summer of love, the free love and all that shit. And like, how did those people turn into
My mother? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
No.
like you guys were fucking naked at Woodstock, and like
Right.
all of a sudden, once you like pumped out some kids, it's like, oh no.
Yeah, not my child.
Right? It's like,
She's debasing herself in front of the entire world. Like,
well, and it's like, if that's part of what comes with having children, definitely don't sign me up.
definitely don't. Yeah, absolutely. I remember like online I get this a lot, and I actually got it from my mom too. Well, she was like, how would you feel if I did it? And I was like, I wouldn't care. I wouldn't watch it. But like the idea that it is inherently bad, and I would think that it was inherently bad, or people online saying like, well, would you let your child do, it's like if my kid was 18 and chose this life, like more power to them. I think it's been a great experience for me,
I would have the conversation about the many pitfalls that come with this industry.
Sure.
Like, and it's the same thing.
Most of them are social, though, honestly.
Oh, no, yeah, they are, but you still have to be aware of them and accept them. I often will have civilian friends who are like, I'm going to start OnlyFans. I'm going to get into sex work. And I'm like, if you want to do that, you need to give it some real serious consideration before you do it. Here are a lot of potential pitfalls that come with it. If you still want to do it, I'll help you, but I'm not just going to blindly help you.
Right. And so many people just give up so quickly that you're like, why did I put in all this effort too?
Oh.
There's that.
Oh, definitely. But I had a friend of mine she's roughly my age, like wanting to start an OnlyFans, and she's an insurance salesman in the Midwest. And I'm like, you're hot. Don't get me wrong. We've hooked up in the past. Like,
Yeah.
I'll happily do it again if you want to come visit, if you're watching. Oh, my hat's off to that girl. Like, the first time we hooked up, we were at a party, she sat down on my lap and just started playing porn on her phone. I'm like, oh, that's a bold mood.
That is way more bold than I have ever been in my entire life. I have so much respect for that. God, I wish I could be that bold. That's so hot.
Yeah, oh, it was super hot. Like, and one of my buddies who was on the balcony with us who saw it, he's just like, please don't fuck in the room while I'm asleep, and just left. I'm like,
Yeah.
You're a good friend?
That's
Yeah.
a good. So then she wanted to start one?
Yeah, and she wants to start one like now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I'm not saying you shouldn't, but you really need to give this some thought. Like, please understand that, like, this is not a protected class. If you don't do this and you're not successful about it, everyone you know will find out about it, and you may lose work over this in the future.
And it's a risk that you're taking because the average income is $160 per month. Like, it's not everybody making crazy money.
Right. And like, you have a professional job. Are you really going to have the time and effort to dedicate to this to try to make it successful? Like, if you want to shoot some nudes or, have some do it. But if you're trying to monetize it,
It's a whole different beast.
Right. Don't stick your toe in.
Yeah.
Like, be all in or don't.
Right. I think that's really good advice.
She apparently didn't like that because she's like, I got a meeting. I'll follow up with you. And I just didn't hear from her about it again. I think she was expecting like me to just be like, hell yeah, you should do that.
Yeah.
Like, no. I'm the friend who actually works in this industry who I'd be a bad friend if I just told you to go for it.
I know plenty of women who who do this very regularly and still have another job. It's to make it your own income and to build it to that point takes a lot of effort. And, I do like shoots as well as OnlyFans. And if one kind of dips, then hopefully the other one kind of rises. Like there's just, it's really hard to find that consistent income and you have to work at it.
You do. And you're already an established brand. You're
Right. Yeah. If I didn't have that and I had to start from scratch when I just got back in the industry, there's no way I'd be where I am right now. Like so much of it was that 7 years of putting in the work and creating the community.
exactly.
You know?
And you also know the risks that come with doing the gig. And
Oh, I already experienced like the worst thing that could have happened. I lost my relationship with my mom over it. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's already done. So how much worse could it get?
right. But this shit has happened over my time in the industry, time and time again. Just like, oh, I'm thinking about. I'm like, give it serious thought.
Yeah.
Like, in addition to that, like if you are looking for a romantic relationship, it can be a lonely place.
Not a lot of, I think guys will say maybe they want to be with someone who does this, but not in actuality. And there are a lot of men, I think that the term is suitcase pimps, where they just want to latch on to a woman who's successful in this and do a tiny amount of work on the side and
or just play Xbox all day.
Right. And leech off of, the money that the woman's making. So there are a lot of risks in it, and it's just, or I hear about women who want to do it and then like hide it from their husbands or their partners, which is really icky too.
That's
Ugh.
That's honestly almost grosser than being a suitcase pimp, like in some respects,
Yeah.
because like a suitcase pimp, at least, I mean, it's gross, but it's like you're kind of upfront about your grossness, like
Yeah.
like the hiding it from your partner, like that is.
I can't even imagine.
I would just be done. Like I obviously have no moral qualms about dating a performer, but like if you were lying to me about it, like the trust is everything. Like the physical act
Yep.
really means nothing.
Yep.
The trust fucking means everything. And if like you don't trust me enough to include me in this part of your life, what else are you fucking hiding?
Right, which is a huge part too. People try and downplay it and it's just like, oh, they're just online. Well, I mean, yeah, my main thing in relationships is transparency and honesty. Like
It
all
has
of
to
the
be.
others, that's the main thing. So that always, even I don't know, even like hiding what you're spending or hiding your package, all of that kind of stuff, like from partners, always felt other people can manage their relationships the way they want to, I suppose. But for me, I always like the idea of everything being kind of shared and talked about.
Yeah. And I will freely admit that, like, in practice, I've been bad about that at points. And mostly that's just out of being self-conscious or afraid. Like, I don't, like, the ex I ran from because of her kid, I didn't vocalize that very well. Like, I was much younger and I didn't vocalize it very well. I just kind of panicked.
Sure.
But in practice, in what I want to do going forward is completely, be like, hey,
this is a lot for me.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, and you get to make those decisions in your life. I think they should be made with like full understanding from your partner too.
Yeah. Well, and it's one of those things like, as I said earlier, if you're dating a performer and they're a performer when you met them, you have no right to say anything about what they're doing with their lives. If you are already in a monogamous relationship and they decide that they wanted to get into sex work, it should be a discussion.
I think so too. Absolutely. Yeah. And it's just the idea of the performer is like very hot when you want to have sex with them. And then it gets less hot, I think, once you realize that you have all these feelings and they're having sex with other people.
Well, it's what I say all the time is like, especially musicians. Musicians are like, I want to be with a porn star till it's time for her to go back to work.
Yep.
Like especially like other entertainers, their ego just can't handle like their girl's fucking somebody else.
Right. Yeah, it is. It's like a huge ego thing. And I've heard even like when performers date other performers, if one of them's doing more than the other, then that kind of gets weird too, or what people's rules are on set. I mean, we talked about that already, but
people's no list explodes.
Oh yeah, well, and my agents have a joke where it's as soon as a girl says like, "Oh, I'm only doing girl," they go, "Who's the new boyfriend?"
Oh yeah.
Yep, because suddenly other penises are this huge threat, even though it's just work.
Well, and it's just like, oh, if you're okay with your partner having sex with other women, but not other men, you're just showing your true colors, bro. You're just showing that you're yellow and that you're afraid.
Yeah, of course. Which that's a valid thing to be. That's fine. I had a partner who like left me for a girl we were seeing, like fell in love with her. Like that's a really scary thing.
It's a scary
happen.
But it's gonna happen either fucking way. Like
right.
If someone is gonna go out of your relationship, someone's gonna cheat, someone's gonna leave you, hell, putting down more rules and regulations may push them towards that versus.
Right. So like more openness and more discussion and more transparency and honesty, I feel like is always the way to go, whether you're in the industry or not, because you're going to have sexual desires for other people, or you're going to find other people attractive, but it's that intimacy that you're protecting. It's that trust and that transparency.
Yeah. Without trust, you have nothing.
Nothing. What's the point? What is the fucking point? And the second you break that, it's done.
Yeah.
You can't get back.
Exactly. It's just like, you may forgive, but you're never going to forget.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah.
It's absolutely just crazy.
I know. What a nice message.
Right? Oh, look at our doing this wholesome podcast.
I know. It's like we went from like coming, but also to trust in relationships and intimacy.
Yeah. And the show is chaotic at times. What can I say?
It's good. I like it. It's fun.
And speaking of which, it is actually time for last call on this motherfucker. Believe it or not, we've been doing this for almost 2.5 hours.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it went by quick.
Aw. Sophia, where can they find you on the things?
My things are kind of all over the place. My OnlyFans is the Sophia Locke. I have lots of underscores and other things. So honestly, it's best to just Google Sophia Locke and Locke with an E. You will not only find my Twitter, which is very explicit, you will also find my TikTok, which is educational, and of course, all of my porn.
Spend your money. Spend it.
Or just watch it too. I don't know. I just like that people are watching it. But if you want more, more fun stuff, the OnlyFans is the best place to go.
Apparently tell her you're masturbating. Like,
I want to hear it. Tweet at me. Tell me.
Do you want to actually hear them, like the noises they make?
No. Unless they want to tip me when they send it.
How much of a tip are we talking?
$5 for a picture. I'll look at any explicit picture.
Oh no, I'm just talking about audio. Like just
audio?
Yeah.
Yeah, same $5. I would listen to an audio. It's more of the time that it takes. But like I just like knowing that people are.
So if it's under 30 seconds, $5 still?
Sure. You can tip me $5. And then it's 10 for a video. It's so sweet though, because I'll get the videos, the explicit videos. And it's like someone jerking off. Their face usually isn't in it, but it's like they'll be like watching my porn while they're doing it. And you can see it in the camera. It's kind of sweet. Aw. Like you like looking at me naked. That's sweet.
Aw.
See, romantics. That's what we are here.
Definitely. And as always, you can find me at Matt_Slayer on Twitter, Matt Slayer on Instagram, Matt F. and Slayer on Facebook, twitch.tv/Matt F. and Slayer, and patreon.com/Matt Slayer for the video versions, the whole video back catalog, the uncensored versions. There's no nudity in this one, folks. It doesn't always happen. I kept my shirt on. You can find the podcast at Now We Drink on Twitter and Now We Drink _ on Instagram. And until next week, drink up, motherfuckers.